What is going on, everybody? It is episode 281 of Pop Culture Crisis. Happy Friday the 13th. My name's Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary, and happy Friday the 13th. Today is not a scary day. I think this is going to be a nice casual Friday episode, and we've got a special guest on the show. She is the host of Doll Parts Podcast, and also she's the female Andrew Tate.
Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, my name is Nina, but online I go by Xernue. I have my own podcast where I'll just talk about anything I want to talk about.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Love
that.
Love that. And I'm just an online girl, so I'm really excited to be here.
She's an e-girl, a girl online.
I've been online forever. I'm kind of aging out a little bit, but I'm so happy.
Don't say that.
That's not true.
No, I'm happy to be here, and I love Mary. I've known Mary for a long time, so
yeah.
So excited for today's show. Really happy about it.
Nina's really like one of the best e-girl, like top tier e-girl.
Thank you. That's so
we've been
sweet.
Mutuals for a long time, so I had to have her on.
Aging out at the old age of like
22.
Early 22.
Yeah, I think 22. You're starting to push it at that point.
There was an episode of the show iZombie that involves models, and a girl's like, "I'm 22. I'm planning for my retirement." Like, that's a thing.
It is a thing.
So.
I think for e-girls it's a thing. I think like 17, 18, you're peaking, and then after it's like down.
Well, that's even scarier then, because you're peaking like okay. Let's be honest. First of all, like if you're an e-girl, your selling point is usually beauty early on, right? Is that a fair thing to say?
Usually.
Okay, say. So it's scary that you're peaking before you're even an adult.
I mean, I was online at like 16, 17, 18 and was like very weird looking and ugly for most of that time. So I feel like I'm finally at my peak.
You're peaking now.
I think you're definitely peaking, but I think you were always amazing. It's just now you have like a really good presence, and you have a great way to channel your creativity and intelligence. And all
I think
that.
it's just the hair. I think it's the blonde hair is what.
It's the blonde hair instead of black hair.
Yeah, she showed me a picture of her with Blair White once. Didn't even look like the same person to me at first. Like it looked like
I've changed it up a lot.
And people change a lot between those ages. Like when you're like mid 16 up to the age of 22, your body goes through a lot of different changes.
And your style and all that. You're kind of perfecting it. You're figuring yourself out. Yeah, for sure. So
growing into it. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. This is I called it a girly episode earlier, guys. It is kind of
it's
girly.
One for the girlies.
One for the girls.
Sure.
It is. The first topic might be the least girly of them. At least it's got some semblances elsewhere. Demi Lovato, her new album cover, which was turned into posters, has been banned in the UK by their apparently very censorious government.
I can't wait to talk about this.
Mary's the authoritarian here, so she's excited.
Yes.
So we're gonna talk about that. Bhad Bhabie, keeping up the horrible trend of female rappers. That's my hot take for the day. Female rappers are rarely good. She wants to send all of her OnlyFans customers to prison, to jail.
Her customers.
Be gone with you. I said that they thought that was Mary thought that was creepy. I was like, well, they are. It's just a weird. Like that. She's enjoying that, guys.
It's fun.
I was pointing out to them earlier, guys. I said this might be the only place in the world where more men get showered with money from a money gun on a weekly basis than women. No, right?
Yeah, it's very countercultural.
We're all about the counterculture
breaking
here.
boundaries.
So
love it.
We're also going to talk about James Bond and his old wife. Okay, not James Bond. Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is in the running to play James Bond. There's a long discussion about the concept of age gap relationships and things like that. So we're going to talk about him, his wife, and everything that goes along with it. And then Mary's new favorite person on the internet,
It's nothing new. I've loved this woman for so long. Her name is Alex Pierce, but she goes by HRH Collection, and we're going to talk about her appearance on Dr. Phil.
I find her entire existence both something I relate to heavily while also being extremely overwhelmed and like
I understand that.
Yes.
I understand that she can be overwhelming at first.
It's very overwhelming.
I watch her videos to calm down.
That's
honestly.
It's kind of like when if you actually need Adderall, it helps. But if you don't, it makes you hyper. So all right.
Yeah,
so we got that. We've got Pamela. We've got Kanye West at the end. We got a whole bunch of stuff to get into. So if you ladies are ready, we can just get right into the first cringe of the day. Mary, are you ready?
Oh, we're ready. How about you, Nina?
Are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
All right. Here we go, guys. So for cringe of the day, we have this absolutely disturbing video. And it is disturbing. It's so disturbing, guys.
So bad.
This is Prince Harry, and I'm not even gonna segue. I'm not even gonna explain it. We'll just listen to it. Are you ready?
This is from his new memoir, Spare.
Oh man. Here we go.
My penis was oscillating between extremely sensitive and borderline traumatized. The last place I wanted to be was Frostnipistan. I'd been trying some home remedies, including one recommended by a friend. She'd urged me to apply Elizabeth Arden cream. My mum used that on her lips. You want me to put that on my todger? It works, Harry. Trust me. I found a tube, and the minute I opened it, the smell transported me through time. I felt as if my mother was right there in the room.
What?
Then I took a smidge and applied it down there. My penis was oscillating between extremely sensitive.
Okay, so yes, he was thinking of Princess Di while he was touching himself down there. I don't know how this gets written.
His ghostwriter really had it out for him.
Yeah, and like was that him? The real question is, did he? Yeah, he read his own autobiography. So he had to both have that written and then write it. And then read it back later and not be like, can we change? Is it too late to change
I'm just like wondering
this?
with all of this, did he approve this? Because this is
approved
only embarrassing for him.
I think it's meant to be deep somehow, but it is like just absolutely disgusting and scary, and
we know surprising. The royal family is like an incestuous, weird family, and also that Harry is a beta cuck. So I don't know. Nothing surprises me anymore. I doubt that he killed 25 members of the Taliban.
No. I also, like, is it weird that, I know this is going to sound mean, but the first thing I think of whenever I see him or William, I'm like, why don't they get hair transplants?
Really?
They're like,
is he balding?
They both are. Like, but
I know
like
William
they've got money. Or if you're the other one, or if you're William, just shave your head.
I mean, why not?
Toupee, yeah, there's a lot of options.
Like,
no, but he's like, I have too much dignity for hair plugs.
I mean, Elon Musk got the hair transplant.
It looks great,
yeah. No one would ever know.
Have you ever seen that meme? It says like when you're so rich, your hair just grows back. Like
I was shocked to find out that Andrew Tate wasn't naturally bald.
No.
He just shaves it for no reason.
I'm sure there's a reason. So just saying that was the cringe of the day. It's all up here it's all up here now.
Yeah,
that was a really good one, guys. I have to tell you, I was not anticipating that.
We aim to please.
Neither were we.
No, that was scary.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
All right, we're moving on, guys. So Demi Lovato is back in the news, and as Mary said, she's lost weight. She's lost weight.
Yeah,
right?
I noticed that. After her yogurt shop scandal where she told off that random yogurt shop for having a sugar-free option, she actually has lost some pounds, and she took this photo shoot for her album cover. Her album is called Holy F. I'm not going to say it, but she's laying on a dirty crucifix-shaped mattress, wearing bondage gear and staring up at the camera.
There's the picture. I mean, people can see it in the lot when we went live. So
posters of this album cover were being distributed for advertisement throughout the UK. I'm sure in many different countries. But as you guys, I'm sure know, the UK does not have the same freedom of speech guidelines that we have because of our constitution. They have more censorious policies over there, especially when it comes to insulting religious groups. I'm a little bit surprised to see that this album cover on posters was banned from being displayed anywhere near where children could be in public. It has to be targeted very specifically if they're allowed to display it at all.
I remember the Advertising Standards Authority, if I remember correctly, is the same organization that banned the Alabama Barker ad because they said it was sexualizing a minor.
Wait, what was that ad again?
That was for some fashion company, and it's a I don't want to pull I didn't even want to pull the picture up when we first seen it.
She's young.
She's 16.
And she
looks
10 years older.
That ad was completely fine here in America, but in the UK they wouldn't allow it. So
well, I'm also surprised because usually these censorship rules, these decency rules, don't apply when it's offending Christians.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're allowed.
Yeah, I mean, we know that this is incredibly common in Hollywood, that celebrities do these publicity stunts where they're like trying to dunk on the Catholic Church while at the same time using the aesthetics of Catholicism to sell their products.
It's
That was the
hilarious
Met Gala.
how there's
Yeah, exactly. The Heavenly Bodies Met Gala theme, and then Kourtney Kardashian's wedding to Travis Barker.
Oh, gosh, I forgot
and
about
then Megan Fox and MGK, where like he's dressed like a priest and she's dressed like a nun, and she's like getting fake Eucharist from him on her knees. Like, it's really just salacious, disgusting stuff, and I hate it because of course I'm Catholic, but at the same time I think anyone can make fun of them for it because it's so trite and like Marilyn Manson-esque. Like, you're very antiquated for that.
Yeah, you're antiquated. That's a perfect way to put it. And I think this should just be banned for being stupid. Like,
Right?
I think that's what it comes down to, because it's not even done like how Marilyn Manson did. At least he was a bit more creative. This is just an ugly cover.
Yeah.
She looks stupid. It's just lame.
What does Christianity even have to do with her upbringing or her like
also the culture,
self-expression?
the culture of the world was in America was so much different when Marilyn Manson did it. It was actually subversive.
Yeah.
Now
normal.
it's literally the opposite of that. It's like you've been given a prepackaged way to rebel by Hollywood, which means that it's not rebellion in general, anyways.
Right. Like, I assume Demi Lovato, given that she's like only 30, was either not born yet or a child during Marilyn Manson's peak.
Yeah.
And this has been done. Like, it's over. It's been over with. You're not countercultural for doing things like this.
Wouldn't liking Marilyn Manson be problematic now, anyways, given what
Would
he's
it be?
going through with
Evan Rachel
Wood?
Wood?
Oh, with all
Yeah.
the sex, he's canceled. Like, he's been fully canceled. So I don't know when.
Yeah.
If it's gonna
It
get
was-
Whatever
resolved.
happened with him like dating Lana Del Rey?
He called her. Did you see the text messages that were leaked? So
No.
him and Lana were spotted together during her like 2013 or so, 2012,
Okay.
2013. And once she gained a lot of weight, like about a year ago, another artist released text messages that he sent her calling Lana fat, and he's like, "Thank God I didn't date her."
Recently?
Yeah, like a year ago.
Oh my
he
gosh.
said, "Thank God I didn't date her. Like, she's like disgusting now." Like, whole paragraphs.
Look,
about
you can
it.
say that about any other celebrity,
Yeah.
but not Lana.
No, she's
That's,
allowed.
I think that's a rule.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is she protected?
Because we love her.
She's
you love her?
special.
And
okay?
dresses are
She's
related
a
to
protected
yeah.
class
Rules
of
for
one
thee
person.
and not for me. To me, this is one of those things that for Christians here in America, it feels like, is Christianity bigger in the UK? The chat will probably
No,
be
it's
like,
definitely
it's less,
smaller. There
yeah.
are more Christians here than in the UK.
So these rules are being upheld there, where it's less relevant than it is here.
It might be also because they have a larger Muslim population,
Okay.
which at least has respect for Christianity and Jesus Christ as a
Abraham
prophet
figure.
Yeah.
in their religion. So in general, I'm sure they have more pushback from like generally conservative religious people, whether they're Christian or Muslim. That might be part of why they were convinced to do this. But what do you think of it?
The funny thing is, I remember the first time, like, I pointed out to a friend that they were in the schools when there was Muslim families protesting LGBTQ curriculums in schools in the UK, and a friend of mine's like, "That's not happening." It's like, it's happening,
Yeah.
right? So it's weird to see this stuff happen overseas and to see these things upheld. It doesn't offend me, like, obviously, as somebody who's not
Sure.
religious, it doesn't offend me. It's just really boring and
Right.
really like predictable.
Which honestly should be a bannable offense.
the
to
real-
be this boring and trite.
The real counterculture would be for her to make a Christian rock album.
Honestly,
That would be more,
Like, and
more
harder to
compelling.
do. Like, it would be way harder to actually pull off and do. Also, I want to know, is the couch fake stained? Is the staining on the couch CGI? Did they do this in Was this done in
don't know.
Photoshop, or did they actually have her sit on a gross couch?
Demi Lovato, let us know how
Yeah.
you
can
how you
come up with-
Behind the
orchestrated
scenes.
this.
Yeah, we need the behind the scenes.
But it looks so uninteresting, and the whole bondage thing, especially after Balenciaga's scandal, it's so boring. Like, fashion heads think this is like dope or whatever, or like interesting
dorks.
somehow. It's dorky. You just don't know what's cool. It just makes you look older than you are.
No, there's been a total decline in terms of fashion and art like this. I think a lot of it has to do with how they hire people. There's a lot less merit-based hiring in all of these fields, and now it is based on the diversity hiring or nepotism rather than anyone who's actually new or has something creative to reflect culture. I think now they're not reflecting culture. It's what can be provocative, but we've been doing this for 25 years. It's like, okay, get something new.
Everyone knows that when a Disney kid ages out, they have their predictable rebellious phase, which is utterly boring. And it's weirder now when like Hillary Duff is the exception, where it's like it's cool because she didn't have that as much of that
because her
phase?
dad allowed her into that industry and protected her from certain things that I'm sure Demi Lovato was not protected from. And she's been off her rocker for years now.
Shock value just doesn't sell to me the way it used to, because there's so much worse that's not mainstream. And
I mean, you remember when Demi Lovato was like a little pop punk Disney star that had that type of music. She's now trying to return to it, but if you have a manufactured and heavily marketed rebellious phase that is completely fake and astroturfed, you can't just go and have a real one. You've already done that before.
Yeah. So to me, it's just, I'm really bored by it. Like the thing is, I thought it was interesting that there was censorship going on in the UK, but the actual rebellion itself is of no interest to me whatsoever. I'd be more interested to see her go through like, hey, I'm going to start a family. I'm going to go do that. Like that's the actual counterculture. Like Katy Perry. That would be the actual counterculture.
And something else, the main song from this album that was released was called 29.
And it's about we talked about that.
Ben Shapiro reviewed it.
Yeah. So it's about an age gap relationship she had. But my thing is, Demi Lovato went through tons of issues with drugs. She was on like the hardest of hard drugs.
Oh, and I sympathize with her there.
Exactly, but why isn't she talking about coming out of that? She's talking about all these other issues like her gender, like all this stuff. But no, that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was you were a serious drug addict. You can raise a lot of awareness about drugs and how they impacted you through this medium instead of like these trite issues and topics that no one cares about.
Who was it? Wilmer Valderrama.
Wilmer Valderrama, because he like met her when she was 17 and he was 29, so the song's called 29. But then we talked about that, and it's sort of unfair. And I'm sure that there are people who victimized Demi Lovato much worse than Wilmer Valderrama ever did before she even met him, and then he's just becoming a scapegoat in her mind that is like built up beyond what it actually was.
Exactly.
The other thing that's interesting, I didn't even think about the fact that she has such a history with substance abuse, because I didn't go through what's called a 12-step program. I went through what's called health realization when I got sober, right? But most people go through a 12-step program, which inherently has a lot of religious aspects. They do versions of it without it. There is training to that program that takes the religion out of it, but it's inherently religious in a lot of its tenets, right? So it would seem like maybe if she's not religious, she would at least have some semblance of like respect for the fact that it's helped a lot of people, but I don't think the industry allows her to do that.
Yeah, instead, I mean, even the album name, like the holy F thing, like you're drawing this very dubious connection between like repressed sexuality and like Puritan Christianity, but at the same time using Catholic imagery. Like you don't understand anything you're talking about or using in your art, which is why it comes off as completely empty.
And all of the factors that contributed to her life becoming what it was and all of the problems were exactly the opposite of Christianity. It was that she was in this immoral environment from probably 5 years old. She needed, if anything, she should have wished she was in a more Christian environment to blame or whatever. So it's so irrelevant and just stupid.
I see so many shows in movies that still dunk on Christianity. And look, you can do a couple of episodes of that, but when it gets overbearing and over the top, there's a place for criticism of all organized groups that make mistakes and do things wrong. But here, like, maybe it's because we're kind of privy to the attitudes of people in Hollywood or even in the music industry, right? You know that it's not done from a place of genuine rebellion. It's done from a place of actual hatred. And I think there's a distinguishable difference between rebellion and hatred. I feel like hatred is where you end up at if the rebellion goes in, if you don't grow out of the rebellion or if you don't rebel in a way that's actually good for you mentally. Hatred is where you end up at. Rebellion's part of the journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think like what could possibly be Megan Fox and MGK's reasoning behind dressing up like a nun and a priest and making it sexual and raunchy.
Is worse. Like
other than just sheer like immaturity, dorkiness, but also just flat out disdain for the Christians that occupy this country as well. Like we are neighbors of theirs, and why are we the targets of their vitriol?
It's like, here's the other thing. Like, I remember articles being written about how Megan Fox was actually like a really good mom. Like before she met MGK. So it's like, is she going through like a weird midlife crisis? Is that what this is? And so she's dating
like she laments marrying young. She laments
That's
also
exactly
like losing out on opportunities, which is like a thing in Hollywood. She lost out on some opportunities for acting because of being a mom and in a sense aging out of her roles.
And she was she was blackballed because of the Transformer movies and stuff she said.
Yeah, she doesn't like Michael. I don't like her. I clowned on her for those takes anyways. It's like, if you're making that much money, boo-hoo, you
She was like
you
talking with,
I
did
had
you
to
see her
work-
talk to Diablo Cody about it?
Yeah,
in that
I had
one?
to work like 12 to 18 hours a day. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
your life is so
And
horrible.
I was sexualized. It's like, yes, you were sexualized,
Yes,
but
you
that's your job.
Like,
and-
who do you think you are?
Yeah,
You know,
who do you
she
think you
has
are?
this problem with being perceived as a hot girl when that she doesn't realize that doesn't contradict being also intelligent or having inherent value. That's
and then
just
it
how the
becomes
business
overdone.
is.
It becomes overdone where she has to act like I'm smart. Same with Emily
like,
Ratajkowski.
she's not that smart, actually.
But she has to like
she's a
play
midwit.
it. No, absolutely. But they have to play it like, oh, I'm actually deep. Blah, blah.
Ratajkowski's worse. She's
yeah.
I have a real problem with like her, like when if you looked up like boilerplate feminism, it's just like she just read the first page of like
Yeah.
Feminism for Dummies, and she's like, men are scared of strong women.
Yeah,
And then
we
she,
just
like-
talked about that the other day. It's
Yeah.
just like, where are you even pulling this from? You're in Hollywood.
You're the most privileged of like being a woman for you has helped you out. Like you're beautiful. I just don't. They have to find something to complain about, and I just literally to me it just does not comprehend.
Yeah,
I
hot
don't
women
get
in
it.
the first world
yeah,
complaining
hot
about how
women,
hard it is to be
the
them.
blurred lines video. Like poor you. Poor
It's
you.
also like
you know.
the Megan Fox one's funny too, because it's like the movie you chose to do. Like, you could actually give the argument that maybe like Jennifer's Body had was a great story that got mismanaged as far as advertising goes. But if you
was.
sign up to do a Michael Bay movie, and I'm the official Michael Bay stan of this show. I love the explosions. I love the hot women. I don't need anything deeper. If you sign up to do his movies, you're signing up, especially if you're a hot woman, you're signing up to be the hot woman in the Michael Bay movies, which by the way, he's under investigation in Italy. I was reading about this today because apparently a pigeon died on the set of his movie Six Underground, and they're like looking to prosecute.
They're like getting
Yeah.
justice for the pigeon.
It might have been a pigeon. I think it said pigeon, but I was laughing really
Why
hard.
couldn't it have been a prop?
They could have used a prop.
taxidermied pigeon.
Well, maybe that's why they used the CGI birds. Like, there's not going to be any dead bears on the set of Cocaine Bear this year when we
No
talk
bears
about
were
that.
harmed in the
So
making of Cocaine Bear.
It's just all just kind of cheesy and in really, really boilerplate Hollywood rebellion that I'm just kind of over.
Yeah, art is suffering these days. Let's go to Super Chats.
But before we do that, I do want to ask you guys to please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Leave comments on this video in the live chat too if you're there. It helps us with the algorithm. Also, when this episode is done, not right now, when this episode is done, please make our sacrifice worth it and go watch our review of Velma episodes 1 and 2, and go check out my Instagram story where I had a somewhat of a mental breakdown. I had a live mental breakdown while I was watching it, and you literally see the life drain out of my eyes. Like with each clip that I post, I look more and more dead on the inside, which is kind of awesome.
Love that.
In a really, really painful way. So go check that out.
Appreciate what Brett and I did for you. Also, let us know if you want us to review the next two. They're releasing 2 at a time.
I didn't even dare
for
put
a
a
whole
poll
season.
for that.
I do want to know. Like we've gone this far.
Yeah.
Let us know.
All right, Super Chats.
Caper2X said, Brett, where's your blue dress? And he said, make mine Marvel.
Dry cleaners. It was
It was a big mix up. You know, we planned it, but yeah. Big Dave said, off subject, but I'm going to watch Avatar today. Do you think I'll be suspected if I walk in with an empty Gatorade bottle?
Yes.
Caper2X said, welcome, Nina. Say, have you been on Chrissy Mayer?
Have you done Chrissy Mayer's podcast?
I
No,
haven't.
but that would be cool.
Hi,
And,
Chrissy.
you know, we would be iconic on Simcasts.
We should go
I
on.
know.
We should go on everything. Oh, we would be like, oh yeah.
I think it should be like a gimmick where you have to wear the same thing in
Every time we wear
the twins in
find
The
the same
Shining,
outfit.
yeah.
whenever
Yeah.
you're on together, you have to wear the same thing.
I love it.
Dexter's Diner said, Brett, matching dress when?
Like I said, it's at the dry cleaners. They stained it. It's not my fault. It's their fault.
Not Alan Rogers said 25 bodies as an Apache gunner is very reasonable.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's capable of it, though.
I mean, I'm sure, but that video.
Or is
did you
he
watch
enough of a
that video?
sociopath?
Well, I mean, war affects people differently. So it's like, but like the idea here is like, that's not what the real offensive thing is. The offensive thing is that video we just had to watch.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Okay.
High Voltage 75 said show idea, prank the guests by aiming money guns directly at them. That's literally what we do.
That's a great idea.
I didn't know this was going. I literally was like so surprised when it happened. So it kind of did prank me.
You didn't question it at all that they were just like money guns?
I thought you guys just had
stacks
stacks of money. You're
cash.
like ballers, you know, you're like gangsters up in here. And you just have money left. Yeah.
Grizzly Nightmare 80 said being on the Barney show messed Demi Lovato up.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, maybe. We don't know what that guy was doing, the guy in the suit.
I think it was more than one guy. I think multiple people portrayed
Sussy.
Barney.
Yeah. Sir Rank Zero Productions said, Brett, I wish to personally apologize for voting yes in yesterday's poll. I knew Velma was going to be bad, but I didn't realize it was so unbearable.
Look, some people...
we knew it was going to be bad.
Some people love cringe and they love to hate watch things. I am
That's
not
me.
such a person. I do not grow happier while watching stuff like that. I just lose faith in humanity and get angry. So,
Lindsay said the Courtney Love aesthetic is fantastic, girls. Do we have a Courtney Love aesthetic?
This dress is actually a dupe of a Lana Del Rey dress that she wore at a concert before in a very iconic photo. But I guess it is because it's baby doll, which is what Courtney Love would wear. So thank you for the compliment.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. said, Mary, I enjoyed your opinion piece on the Golden Globes. Thank you. I'm trying to get back into the swing of writing more often because I used to do it every day. Mike Bolin said, Xernue is brilliant. She absolutely is.
absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
Bad App said, they're all in their rebellious emo era. And he said subtoots.
Yes.
I don't know who he's talking to.
Probably me.
Yeah.
Probably me. Bad App will aspire to leave super chats that Mary will not read. That's what
happens
Bad
all the
App's
time.
favorite things to do.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. said, within 4 minutes of the show, I threw up in my mouth.
I'm assuming he means Velma and not us. Yes.
About Prince Harry, Velma, or Demi Lovato, and not any of us.
It wasn't even 4 minutes. It was within the first 10 seconds when she talks about Fred in his creepy sex van.
Right.
Like it was like we're 30 seconds in the show and it was that bad. And it's like, if
I mean, 30 seconds in, we're looking at cockroaches
having sex. Yes.
So.
And also like the worst thing about it was like their inability to actually do self-referential humor or meta humor and do it well. Like I had somebody like send me a message, like, cause I posted the scene of them in the shower, like the girls in the shower, and they're talking about how, ever notice how in the pilot episodes of shows, there's always more gratuitous sex and violence? And somebody sent me a message and says, don't they get said like, oh, the irony of this shot? I'm like, that's the problem. If it was done well, you would have understood that they were doing this ironically. He didn't get the irony because it wasn't done well.
Right, exactly. Retrocalypse said, it's so sad. Kaling is a good writer and so much better than this. It's too bad she drank the Kool-Aid because her talent during The Office is obvious.
She did not write these first 2 episodes. It was somebody else that wrote them. She's just a producer and a star on it. But as far as I'm concerned, if she's the producer, the buck stops with her as well. Her and it was another guy, somebody named Chris, was the writer and the director on the first one, and then he was just the writer on the second one. So she was not the writer, but she is like, that somebody's like, hey, Mindy, we're gonna give you another self-insert character, and she's like, sign me up.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Yeah. Do you know if she wrote for the Veep or Mindy project?
If she wrote for Veep, then she's actually a gifted writer. It's just Veep is so outside my realm of what I actually want. I can't really stand Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
I'm on the same page. I don't like Seinfeld, and the way she looks annoys me.
I don't dislike Seinfeld. It's so like I think that might be a generational thing. Like that's
you like Seinfeld?
Yeah, but not. I'm not just like.
But not what it represents.
I'm not a Seinfeld cultist or an Office cultist. I've never seen Friends. Like
me neither.
I dated a girl who just would like that was like the big sticking point. Was like she would ask me all the time to watch Friends, and I'm like, I will watch literally anything.
People just make it into their personality.
Yeah, like it's like it's worse. Like when they're like, which Seinfeld or which Friends character are you? It's the same way they do it with Harry Potter. Like, which house are you? And I'm like,
yeah, that's the right reaction. Yeah. Like I have more of an identity than some weird show.
Well, that's like, how many people these days, like their whole personality online is like a picture of a character and a like, have your own personality, dude. Like I guess if it's an alt account and you're pretending to be someone else, that's one thing. But if it's actually you and it's a picture of someone else, like there's whole people.
There's a bug.
Oh. Did it go away?
It's on the floor now. Okay, we got my lab.
Okay,
so we're good.
Stomp on it if you have
to. Like there's whole bots whose whole profiles, like they actually put their names on there, but their pictures are of Brie Larson.
Yeah, like, I don't think they're real people.
It's weird.
Thousand Foot Deep End said, wasn't Demi Lovato raised Christian? Even wore a purity ring like the Jonas Brothers? She's just rebelling against it still. Also, welcome to the show, Nina.
Well, then, like, at what point do you, pass the rebellion phase?
No, and the thing with the purity rings, that was all super, virtuing. It really didn't mean, it wasn't like Christianity,
No.
like you're going to church. Like, it was super performative. It wasn't that serious. And yeah, maybe she was Christian, but the things that happened to her, the cause, the conduit was not the church or the Catholic Church or something. It was these immoral, the opposite of Christianity. So I think that's the main point.
I mean, at least with the Jonas Brothers, I would understand because they were raised in
very much
a pastor family. But even they didn't go crazy. They're fine now.
Yeah.
You know, they never had rebellious
They are
phases.
like you don't see a lot of stuff about them.
No.
Really. That's like a weird thing to become a fan of when you do a job like this. Like you see somebody being normal and you're like, good for them. Look,
Hey.
no drugs, no no scandals. Like that's awesome. Like I'm here for it. Like when somebody just gets their life together and they're just kind of, like Hillary Duff. Like she's just kind of halfway normal.
Lindsay Lohan's kind of halfway normal now.
She got married, yeah.
She's me and her are same birthday, same year. So we're me, her, and Larry
Birthday
David.
twins.
Larry David
We're all
from
twins.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's I never really watched. I didn't really watch anything that she was in growing up. I was a little too old by that point for her demographic of shows. But it is what it is.
Love
Mean
her.
Girls?
Freaky. Well, I mean that's like everyone loves Mean Girls. It's a Freaky Friday.
Caper2X said, Mary, he flew a gunship. I'm surprised it's just 25. I don't know how he would even know that.
Maybe that's why he's so weird now.
Maybe? I don't know. I'm not going to read that bad app.
I would actually be interested to know, is it common? There's a lot of people in the chat that have talked about the royal family. I'm not a royal family connoisseur. I'm assuming that for the men, that military service is usually pretty common, but that they don't take active roles in combat.
Like BTS.
So that's was it an exception to the rule that he saw active combat? I don't know.
You'll have to read the memoir to find out.
Then I'm giving him money. I'm not doing that.
Mike Bullen said, Mary and Xernue are one hell of an online combo. It'd be fun to see them as co-guests on another show. By the way, the show aesthetic is dope. Thank you.
Well,
that's an intriguing idea.
It really is.
Stand back and stand by, I suppose. Bad app, I'm not reading that. Big Dave said, I'm not a big pop culture guy. PCC keeps me up to date and entertained. Thanks for that. Nina is a great guest. She deserves my customary comment. And then he sent another message, or he sent 99 cents without a message after that.
That's the customary comment.
He's usually the strong silent type on here. He doesn't usually send messages, so you must be really special to him.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, we're moving on. So Bhad Bhabie is back in the news.
If you don't know who this is, it's the girl who was on Dr. Phil, said Catch Me Outside. She was 13 years old back then. Her real name is Danielle Bregoli.
Yeah, I had to ask her, is it Bergoli or Brugoli? It's Brugoli. Right. So she became famous because when she turned 18, she just launched that OnlyFans
the literal night that she turned 18, which definitely seems sus. Because what if the content on there is from before?
Exactly. Yeah. There's no way to prove that.
Right. I don't know.
We need to get event logs that say was it uploaded private and then went public the second she turned 18? Does that make the people who aren't in her time zone creeps if they opened it before? It's still 11 p.m. there. It's not after midnight there.
Well, I'm the Fed, so I'm gonna alert the Bureau about that.
And it kind of shows how much our culture hasn't changed, given that. It was a thing when the Olsen twins were about to turn 18.
And then Billie Eilish, it was the same thing. Society really doesn't change. Human psychology doesn't change all that much. It's just our sensitivities changed.
I don't even know if our sensitivities have changed. I think it's that everyone's in the public eye now because of social media. So you're not allowed to be creepy and like this in private. People vocally support it in public, and then other people who don't are I don't know if you should be doing that. That's a bit weird. But it was MTV doing it in the 90s.
I mean, when it's a public figure that you've watched grow up from childhood, that's really creepy. Like, especially with Danielle Bregoli, when she showed up into most of our public consciousness when she was only 13 years old. She dropped out of school in 7th grade to just be an online influencer. She did really well with her music career, actually. Like, a couple of really big hits from her came out, including like Gucci Flip Flops. You remember that one?
Yep.
She recently had another one that was more of an R&B song that went viral on TikTok. Like, that's a viable career path for sure. But like, there was no need to take it to porn.
Yeah.
This looks like like she's definitely got methadone clinic chic going on in this photo.
When
like
she has the high pony.
It's the high pony. It's like she looks like she's got Oscar the Grouch pajamas in her closet.
The Cookie Monster.
She's the Cookie Monster hot Cheeto girl.
Like, look, I'm just saying. But here's the thing. Like, what she said was that she believed, like, so they kind of led her on in this interview with Barstool, where they basically said, should the people who subscribe to your OnlyFans the moment you turned 18 be in jail? And she says, yes. Assuming if we're supposed to take her at her word that she actually believes that, is there a weird type of self-hatred there about her own choices, that it's like she hates the people that are actually actively supporting her?
I think it's just so disingenuous, because this isn't a 10-year, perspective. This is a year ago. She created this account a year ago. How much can her views change? She claims she made $1 million on there
in the first 6 hours. And then 51 million in 2021. She was the 16th ranked user on the platform that year.
I get her sentiment that it's creepy. My thing is, you have to shut up, because you chose to do that and make that much money. You just need to stop, because any controversy about it, that can be discussed by people like us. But if you decided to do this when you're 18 years old, it's only been 1 year since that happened. You've made tons of money. What are your repercussions?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's got to be some self-hatred there, that if she admits it's creepy but knows she made a ton of money about it.
I don't think she does, though. I think she just knows what the public opinion is on that. Do you know what I mean?
So
I think
she's catering to that.
She's catering to that because she doesn't want to say, because she knows it's a controversial
But she still has the OnlyFans. Like,
if
you're so opposed to it, then why haven't you closed the account down? Are you just too addicted to the cash flow and the attention that it gives you? I mean, eventually that has an expiration date. Yep. Like, regardless of age, obviously she's only 19. She's very
got
young.
they got a long career.
But,
like, in front of them
it doesn't make sense when she's like going to Oxford Union to talk to young professionals and academics about entrepreneurial endeavors, and she has an education grant, a vocational and technical grant that she like funds people's businesses and educations, but won't do the same for herself.
Well, here's the thing. The way I see it is, it takes a lot of really smart people to make someone look stupid successful. Like, meaning that she's not stupid. What I'm saying is that it takes a very intelligent person to profit off looking stupid.
No, that's really true. That's
like,
a great point.
She's marketed herself as kind of a ditzy, look at me, look at this.
It's like a Trisha Paytas.
But she is a business person, and she's selling you a product. She's not just selling you creepy sexuality right at the age of 18. Yeah. She's selling you the product of someone who was on Dr. Phil. She took that microcosm, that image of what happened on Dr. Phil, and turned it into financial. Yeah, exactly. So it speaks to just how deep the business aspect of these things goes. Also, she does look like Trevor Wallace in that.
A lot of the comments were saying,
looks like female Trevor
loved
Wallace.
This Trevor Wallace interview. That's what most of them were saying.
They should do something together.
Let's just play this until we get to the OnlyFans part.
The clip here at the beginning.
Yeah.
Is it this one? Are we allowed to click on it, or do we have to go to?
Doesn't it play?
I think we did it from the top here.
Okay.
That one might not play.
Okay. So like, one of the weird things about this interview is that in the middle of it, you can see the co-host dressed up as Dr. Phil, basically, eating the whole time. And then the main host grabs this sketch pad and he's like, describe to me what your average audience member on OnlyFans is like. And she says they're like 20 to 40. They usually are like married with like children, and they have brown hair, about 175 pounds, and he like is sketching on the sketch pad.
Do they have details that like precise?
No, she was just riffing, I guess. Yeah. And he's like on this sketch pad, and then he finishes and he pulls it out, and it's just Dr. Phil. He just drew Dr. Phil. So I guess she's still kind of like milking that story to this day, and it's like, is there any depth beyond, you know, the fact that she had a violent outburst on live TV as a child and the fact that she started selling her body the second she was of legal age. Like, I think she is talented at PR and talented at music, but she's not using those abilities to her advantage enough.
No, and she said in the interview, she said, I don't want to be known as an OnlyFans girl who started when I was 18. I want to be known as a rapper, as a singer, like all these other business ventures I've done. And like, that's valid. But yeah, a big part is you started an OnlyFans and you're still doing it. And that's from what if she's saying 51 million, I don't know.
Someone said send her back to the ranch.
She needs, oh yeah.
Is it true what they say about Florida?
What are they saying?
Peninsula?
What?
Peninsula, is it true?
What about it?
She
Is
doesn't
it?
know what a
What do you even
peninsula
mean?
is.
That's editing, right? That's editing,
yeah.
right? That's reality TV editing, where
Sure.
she was likely reacting to something else, and they
put it
clip it
in.
in there.
Wait, but look at what she says here.
Up in 7th grade, I don't know. Yeah.
You ever think about going back to 7th
No.
grade? No? How come? Too old?
No, it's just like, why? Like, for what?
Like, why would
And
I
the
get an
night you turned
education?
18, you registered to vote?
No,
Huh?
That's not what I thought you said.
Oh, you thought I was going to say join the military.
No. That's what I joined OnlyFans.
You joined OnlyFans the night you turned 18?
I think so, yeah.
And people subscribed right away?
Yeah.
Should they be in jail?
Yeah.
See, I almost
She's
would
just
buy-
kinda joking
I
around.
could buy that, but I could also buy that was edited, like that she didn't, that it wasn't even there. Like I don't know if they
possible.
would do that, but yeah, super edited. Like, but
Yeah.
but here's the thing, like. If she actually meant that, there is a certain amount. It's a weird type of dichotomy. The other person I was thinking of was Maitland Ward. Maitland Ward was from Boy Meets World, who went on to do porn. And she talks about how recently she gets a lot of requests on her OnlyFans, and one of the big ones is they want her to be like her to do scenes like her character on Boy Meets World. Well, her character was not exactly of legal age. Like, people are messed up, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I think that this is like an over familiarity with celebrities and public figures that like, because especially you're behind a screen, you feel comfortable asking, like requesting very deranged things like that. I don't think it's well adjusted from the perspective of the people subscribing. I don't think it's a well adjusted decision to make to, you know, define your reputation by your sexuality at such a young age either. I think she made a big mistake, and maybe she's starting to realize that.
I mean, I don't know if she's actually.
If she's
I
saying
don't
like,
think
I
she's
want to be
aware of
known
that,
for
like-
music, I want to be
yeah.
known for, you know, owning businesses and stuff like that. What she's learning now is like, no matter what you do that's more significant maybe than being on OnlyFans, you're always going to be followed by that.
I don't know. Like, we're at an age now where she's young enough where she could transition out and do other things, and this could be left in the rearview mirror very easily. Like, I actually do believe that. I believe that she could become the CEO of a company that actually succeeds, go on to start other companies, charities for scholarships and things like that. She could transition into other aspects of entertainment and leave this stuff behind, and it would just be kind of like a how she got her start thing. And we're in a culture now that's so forgiving that I don't think people would look at it the same way
It
they would have
shouldn't
looked
be,
at it.
in my opinion. But like, I understand what you're saying. It's possible that
like
she could.
I don't think this is the be all end. I think that's why so many women are seeing it as a risk worth taking nowadays, because the stigma isn't there that used to be. The stigma is there for you, right? Like you don't like it, so like there's some stigmatization that you're giving to them, but like rightfully so, it's against your beliefs.
Well, I
But
think
average
once you
members of society
open the
don't.
floodgates for that to be associated with you and your reputation as a young woman, it doesn't just leave you.
Dude,
No.
20, 30 years from now, like the average, like when her audience has grown up and she's running companies and the news has anything to do with sexuality, I don't know if it's going to matter the same
I have
amount.
a counterpoint. So I obviously follow Trisha Paytas. She's actually having a really big problem now. So she created an OnlyFans like 2017, 2018, did it for a few years. She did boy-girl content, meaning with another person, and a lot of solo stuff. She still has her OnlyFans, but she only posts like pictures, whatever. She's trying to start businesses now. Like, she's really trying, and she says like and her OnlyFans was like super private and like, you know, like a paywall and everything. She's like really upset and embarrassed by everything. And she was in the sex industry for a very long time, online and offline, and now she's like 34, 35, and she's really like regrets almost all of it.
And there's no attention given to the ones that regret it, only
And she
celebration
had a
of the
whole
ones who
thing.
embrace it.
She had her name established well before she started the OnlyFans.
Yeah, that's why she did
and yet
so well.
it's still giving her flack in trying to make money in other ways.
And so
you know?
it limits you, because she says, she's like, this is my, even though I'm not doing the extreme stuff I used to on OnlyFans, it's still a huge part of my income. And she's saying she's trying to branch out and do other things. And any company she tries working with, people are sending them videos and pictures of her that are, gross.
Yeah.
And it has limit. She said she lost like tens of millions because of her being discarded as a candidate for a brand deal or anything like that.
Okay, then societally, does it become less of a problem in the future? Because it seems like culture only goes one way. And we're not becoming a more moral culture. We're not becoming a more private culture. We're becoming a more public culture. So maybe for Trisha Paytas, it's a bigger problem. But maybe in 10 years when Bhad I'm like referring to.
I mean, even her name is like Bad
like,
Baby.
like,
She's a baby.
Yeah.
She's a sexy baby. Like, I don't know. I don't like that.
Do I have any sympathy for somebody who has to deal with these problems after making the quick money? No, I don't.
Yeah.
But I don't see society going in a better direction in 10 years. If anything, I see this behavior becoming more and more incentivized by our culture.
But just think about all of the girls who are doing OnlyFans now, who started COVID. I say 2020 is when it boomed.
COVID.
So it's from 2020, and then think about in the future. Like I wish there was like a study or something where we could say a percentage, but I would say a very high percentage of women have done sex work in some form, whether they were as big as like this or just mild camming or something. It's going to be a lot of people, so more people will know someone or be the person who did it. They're more sympathetic.
I
So
heard
think
this
that-
like
So
in the
eventually-
future, all women are going to have an OnlyFans, all men are going to be Uber drivers, and all non-binary people are going to like work at gas stations or something. They're going to be in food production.
One of the greatest things somebody ever said to me is like a pizza delivery guy said, pizza delivery is like stripping for men. He's like, cause
No.
I didn't
Stripping is stripping for men.
He's like, but it was really funny because he was like, you can make a lot of money early on when you're younger, and I was like, he had this whole thing for why he believed that. I'm like, I don't know if that really lines up.
Does he think he like got tipped more for being young or something?
I have no. He's just saying that because it's mostly men doing it. Like there were. I mean, I don't know how many. I don't know how many.
But you're not going to send a bunch of young women out to knock on strangers' doors. Well, like that's not a good idea.
Hey, this is America. You can do whatever you want.
I would love to be a pizza delivery person.
You think?
I would love to.
You'd make bank on the tips.
I would love it.
Like it's just one of those things, man. Like I don't see culture getting better. I see this becoming worse, and I see her problems actually minimizing because there will be less stigma on it. Should there be stigma on it? I have no idea. I don't care. Like I don't care what she does.
It's really a hard thing because this is the perspective. It is a very shameful thing. It should be shamed. It's not a good idea for women to do at all. But then also the idea is the redemption. So if somebody wants to stop, like Trisha Paytas, let's just say she's not doing it all anymore, she wants to get into other business ventures and she can't because of her past. So how is the shaming going to work? Because a lot of people there's interviews of porn stars, they say, I regret doing it, they stop, and then they go back because they need to make money somehow. And since they had such a huge name or visibility, they can't escape that entertainment field at all. So that's really the struggle.
There's like a small percentage of like the really, really big names that end up going to like Sirius Radio or have their own shows, podcasts, or they travel and stuff like that. But those are like culturally relevant people that build their brand beyond that. Now, oddly enough, for them it would be safer, or they would be making more money going to OnlyFans and keeping 100% of the profit rather than getting paid per scene or whatever they're doing when they're working for these larger companies. So it is like a weird, maybe it's made it safer for them, but making it safer doesn't mean we should be promoting it as something that you want to aspire to doing. It does seem like maybe in 20 years, like the society will have so many women that have done it that there just won't be any shame around it because they all have skeletons in their closet.
The question isn't should having an OnlyFans be stigmatized. I think it's just a reality that people will need to come to accept that it just is stigmatized. Like there is stigma attached to publicizing your sexuality because that is something inherently private. Yep. There will always be stigma attached to that. There will be some delusional people who say that there isn't, But again, like, they're living in a fantasy world that does not exist, and it never will.
Yeah. And I think the media works very hard to push the idea that it doesn't exist, that there's no stigma behind it, that it's completely fine. Like, because, and then you got guys like me who I'm like, I don't care if she did porn. Like, but at the same time, would I date somebody who did it? No.
Exactly.
No, I would.
And that's
So
the
it's like,
question.
the idea here is like somebody like me who's like, I don't care if you did it, but it would affect my opinion of you as far as like pursuing some type of relationship with someone. So it's like there's stigma there that I'm not even really attributing to myself because I don't really care if someone chooses to do it. I don't look down on them for choosing to do it, but the reality of it is different.
But you do in a way.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I hate to say that. Like, it's like,
No, I mean,
because
I
I don't
think
think
most
they're a
men feel that
bad
way.
person, but their decisions don't line up with what I would be looking for.
And I
in the
think most
future.
women wouldn't, I mean, I don't know, we need a poll on this, but I think most women wouldn't date a man who did sex work.
It's the
No.
OnlyFans for women is pro sports for men. The idea that men, the gender wage gap exists in sports for women and exists in OnlyFans for men.
Yeah.
Men
I
make
mean,
very
we
little
did
money.
No, but
look
they
at
get-
this
they gay
story
stuff.
from the Wizards of Waverly Place
Oh,
guy.
Oh, yeah, we have that.
Who said he tripped and fell into doing adult entertainment. I don't like the wording of that. Like, take
Yeah.
accountability for what you did. But I think men can also get success on there because there are like gay men that subscribe.
Tons of, that's a huge
But it's
market,
just like
but it's-
the trend of like being an entertainer for children, like in children's TV shows and movies, and then becoming an adult performer is very disturbing.
I
Like,
think it's a similar situation in the sense that those kids are exploited. When they start that young, I would say a large percentage, it's their parents forcing them to do it. They have to provide for their family. So they have no agency, and all it's about is the dollars. So then, when as an adult, it's all your merit is being exploited for money. And that's your mindset.
Making that jump is a lot easier when you were exploited at a younger age, even if not physically, but just the abuse that you suffer from being responsible for providing for an entire family when you're a child. And we talked to the story about who was it that got left alone with the casting director and then claimed that
that was Bella Thorne.
Yeah.
there's so many
the
layers
casting
to
director
claim
claimed that
she got
she was
sexual with him.
flirting with him when
Yeah.
she was 10 years old.
10 years old.
Awful.
But the question is, like, was she though? Because like that's a sign of previous abuse, and
Yeah.
I don't know. This is rampant in entertainment, obviously.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to Super Chats.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, didn't mean to suggest I thought Demi herself was Christian, but I do believe it's still a spiritual thing going on with her. Yeah, I mean, I think she's definitely still struggling. Marcos said, favorite movie soundtrack with score or songs? Twilight.
Score would be The Dark Knight.
I would say Blade Runner for like a score.
Oh, that was good.
I
Yeah.
love the Blade Runner.
Good call.
Yeah.
Good call. There's
2049 or like the
No, the
original?
original.
yeah.
1982.
Oh, there's a lot of good movies. That would be, we could do a whole episode on, like, I would have to go back and do and read up more on what my favorite was. On TV, my favorite producer for music is a composer named Cam Neely, was a hockey player. Blake Neely is a composer who does for shows like he did The Mentalist back in like 2009. He did all of the Arrowverse shows, which actually did have really unique kind of electronic scores, which were different at the time. Obviously, Hans Zimmer, as far as for movies, would be probably the best. So,
Alex making beds and writing novel on the side said, another Friday, another night with my friends drunk.
well, hopefully not too drunk.
Glad you're here.
Yeah.
Hope you're okay. Dexter's Diner said, will you guys review The Last of Us show? We are reviewing that on Monday.
I mean, the funny thing about that is maybe it won't be as bad now that we watched Velma.
In comparison, it's probably going to be a masterpiece, but other people are also worried about that being a disappointment.
Somebody was talking to me the other day about how much they love Pedro Pascal, and I realized that, like, look, Pedro Pascal is a great actor. He's just really annoying on Twitter. And one of the things you have to do with this job is understand that these people are all insufferable, and you have to judge them based on the work and not based on who they are on social media, because a lot of times they're not even necessarily the same person on social media that they are in the real world. But he's particularly annoying on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Biddy Beastly said, if she thinks her consumers should be in jail, she ought to be as well for producing it. Forgive my vulgarity, but that... okay, I can't repeat that part. She belongs in the sewer.
Well, it'd be a very expensive sewer because she's got a lot of money. But like, also like, look, I think the number one thing you can take away is that that interview was extremely edited, extremely cut up.
For sure.
And it could even have been at her request to make her look a certain way because she has an image to uphold.
And it was an article.
Yeah.
You know, she got clout from it, and more people are probably going to subscribe to her OnlyFans now. So
Exactly.
True. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. said, "Bad Brett Dasovic."
Well, yeah, that's spelling.
They
Brett's
want you to
with
wear
an
the
H.
was an OF.
Yeah, that
What's
was
going on? The
that
Brett
is a
Simp
rumor.
Army.
That is a rumor I cannot stop. The Brett OnlyFans thing.
They were also saying they want you to bleach your hair again when we were on Instagram Live before the show.
It's gonna cost you. I'm like, look, somebody's like, oh, like he wants us to give money to bleach his hair. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to bleach. Like, I don't.
What, you think he's just
like,
going to do it for no reason?
I'm not
for,
a blonde,
for the joy of
and,
it?
Like, I'm not a blonde-haired person. I had blonde hair when I was younger. I was born with light hair. My hair turned dark, and there was a time when I had blonde tips when I was 12. And,
frosted tip game.
Frosted tips. Yeah,
Thank you.
Boy bands were a thing. I didn't explain the crisis meter, so we left it open for her to be scared.
that was a crisis party.
Yay.
When it reaches a certain amount, you have a crisis party.
Yay.
Yes.
Awesome. Fun.
You heard Carter's lovely voice there. Linda T said, "When Sour Patch Lids had OF, I was shocked until I finally saw."
Well, that was the beauty of it, right?
It's like a Substack, but
Yeah.
on OnlyFans.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a possible...
An OnlyFans where you shame people with OnlyFans. It's genius.
Right. Waffle Sensei said, "We had a mail driver at UPS get fired for doing an OnlyFans out of his package car.
That's amazing.
Apparently he did pretty well for himself, but
So it's
pretty
like-
sure it was just the uniform that did it."
I also saw somebody else in the thing said mentioned fake taxi. Was that like fake UPS? Like,
Oh, my
man.
gosh.
Wow.
Incredible.
Potatoes for Seamus said, "Hi Nina, hi Brett, sup Mary, and Brett bleach it."
It's gonna
He
come.
wants it to happen.
Look, you guys keep suggesting
It's up to you
It's up to you guys. This
Yeah.
is really, it's not on me. It's on you guys.
Spork Witch said, "Drive with Ryan Gosling, spectacular visual storytelling, economic use of dialogue, and the greatest musical score ever."
This is one of
Disagree.
those days. This is one of those days where my brain is kind of mush. And there've been a couple of things I've been watching recently, old movies, where I was shocked at like not realizing how good the score was until I went back and watched it. I'm also a fan of movies that are very, very guarded with their score, in which where they use a lot more ambient sound and internal sound effects with less music. Sometimes that can be just as good for storytelling. But for me, it's the Dark Knight, or even like, as much as I think Marvel does really, really generic work with most of their scores, the actual Marvel theme that plays at the beginning of the movie and Captain America's theme is fantastic. Like whenever there's I mentioned it the other day on the show, the scene where he's grabbing the helicopter and he's pulling the helicopter back to the building, when the sound swells on that part of the movie, there is not a dude in that theater that does not want to go work out and then become a superhero. It's not a thing. You have to when you see that.
Well, anyone who complained about Hugh Jackman possibly using steroids for Wolverine
Look, I don't even
would
care
not feel that way.
If they want to use steroids, just do it. Just take all the HGH
Oh
and
my
just
gosh.
roid yourself out to the gills.
cares?
Like, if women can just stuff themselves, let the women stuff their bodies full of plastic and let the guys shove all the green chemicals in their veins. You know, I thought it was a free country. Let them do what they want.
Period.
Perturbed Alpaca said, "Brett has an OnlyFans?" OnlyFans confirmed.
Look, here's a funny thing. Like, but my dad, like Googled me recently, I guess, and like he's like sent me like a screenshot, which that was the impressive part to me, like that he figured out. But like that said, like when you search my name now, for years it was nothing but skating content. Like, you know, all my skating stuff would come up. Now it like lists TV personality.
That's
And
cute.
It's just like
Aw.
it was very endearing.
Yeah,
Like,
we've got like an IMDb.
Aw,
No
love it.
big deal.
Love it.
Potatoes for Seamus said, "Brett's OnlyFans is just Marvel fandom stuff."
Yeah, that would have to be because I'm the one who doesn't talk about Marvel.
What's
here.
the truth? Does he like Marvel or does he like DC?
Yes, it's. I guess
What
you'll have
like
to.
what does he have a shrine to in his bedroom?
Neither. There will be neither. Look, that's weird. I don't have any Funko Pops either. No Funko Pops.
No.
That's relieving.
Clint said the blondening has been done. Let's do a face tattoo.
No.
now. And done by Mary again. I couldn't do that to you. I
That-
wouldn't feel good about that. But I did say that I would get one inside my lip that says like crisis.
Yeah.
If we got to a certain amount, I don't even know what amount I said.
I did see an amazing one recently where a guy, and it's super detailed. Have you ever seen the show Home Improvement?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a guy who got like Wilson peeking over the fence top on his eyebrow. It's incredible. Like you have to be super zoomed in to even see what it is, but it's super detailed. Looked like it cost a crap ton of money.
Okay, we're caught up on Super
right,
Chats.
let's go.
We're going to move on to Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yes.
Ooh.
He is the front runner for James Bond right now, which we did talk about, but when we were on that subject, I just saw a ton of replies to that had nothing to do with James Bond and had everything to do with trashing his wife, who is 55 years old. I think, how many years older than...
23.
23 years older than Aaron Taylor Johnson. By the way, their names are so long because they hyphenated their last names, which I always roll my eyes
He gave
at.
the traditional male feminist response of saying you don't have to take... Why does a woman have to take a guy's name? Why,
right,
guys?
exactly. But
Why?
who decides which last name comes first?
Yeah, like did they do paper rock? I like the idea that they did paper rock scissors, maybe. Or they played like how long ago was this? Maybe they were playing like games of Words with Friends, and whoever won got to pick the first name. Remember Words with Friends? I liked Word with Friends more than Wordle.
Wordle was such a psyop.
Yeah, like that was a data collection thing.
So anyway, a lot of these people were saying like he should divorce his wife. They were calling her a hag. All of these mean names.
She was married before him too for 11 years.
Yes, and she had children from that marriage as well. But now she's had a couple of children with Aaron Taylor Johnson at like 42, 45.
Yeah, she like that's
which is wild.
old,
Yeah,
right? Like I mean, like there was an article in the Hollywood Reporter the other day from it might have been from who's the lady from the Woman King?
Frick, I should know that.
Yeah.
Is it Viola Davis?
Viola Davis.
Yeah.
It might have been from Viola Davis. It might have been from someone else who's talking about like, oh, look, I'm 50. My years of giving birth are coming to an end. I'm like, they've been
over,
for,
girlie.
like, for the most part for a while now.
Yeah,
long
so
time.
they have been married since 2012. It seems like they're going strong. Heard nothing but positive things, but everyone thinks that actually he was groomed into this marriage because they met when he was only 18 on the set of Nowhere Boy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she was his
Not
superior.
on the set. What happened was she auditioned for him to be in the movie in her house.
In her own house.
That's the most
Oh
Hollywood.
yeah, my schedule's just really busy right now. Come to my house.
If you're a dude, if somebody
what?
gave you this advice, if you're an aspiring actress, it's you right now. You're not even 18. You're 22, and some bigwig Hollywood director says, "Would you please come to my house to audition in person?"
Yeah.
Like
Casting couch.
totally, yeah.
Casting couch moment,
But
yeah.
apparently they did not kiss or even get involved until after the movie was
That's
done
the official
shooting.
narrative, at
and that he
least.
proposed to her before they were even romantically involved because he was just so in love. Look, you guys have your own opinions on this. I think it's hilarious because it's such a backwards thing from what we normally see in Hollywood.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the issue. Like, the fact that they met when he was 18 and she was in a position of power. And that's where the ethical conversation comes in. It's like,
look, I say if
was
he's
it-
happy now, go for it.
and that's
like,
what's
that
going to
doesn't
get
bother
to.
me.
They've had children together very quickly after they got
Yeah.
together. They still are together. At this point, he's in his early 30s. Like, at this point, he definitely has power. If he wanted to leave the relationship, he definitely could.
It's a different dynamic.
It's a
now
very
than it was
different
when they started,
dynamic.
Yeah, and she had 2 children before from her previous marriage. One who was only a couple of years younger than him. I think
Really
that's
weird.
27. I think that the oldest of her children that she had before, they had their 2 children. So they have 4 kids together, 2 stepchildren, and then 2 children of their own.
I just don't like it. I don't like the vibes.
No, but here's the issue. And I think I'm going to be blunt. Look at her. And this is my problem. It's like, it's not like she is like a MILF where it's like, sorry, like a real house.
Guys, the women are about to get judgy here.
I have to because it's a big, okay, obviously women and men see the other gender differently in terms of relationships. Like, women are valued for how we look and men are valued for other aspects. But so I'm going to look at it that way.
So he's not, like, at this time, he's not able to provide anything because he's only 18, and men are valued for what they can provide.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's older, and she's not able to
She's not
provide for her
hot.
looks.
Yeah.
she wasn't even hot when she was
She
younger.
wasn't hot.
Doesn't this make it more believable that it's actually love?
No.
That he's like, he loves her
They're
in spite
both
of the
like-
fact that she's
It
that
makes
she's
it
not
look like
beautiful.
he's mentally ill.
Yeah, or
Oh,
like,
come on.
or
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, it makes him look like he has mommy issues.
I mean,
And yes, I will have a double standard. If this was a male and a female, I would have a double standard. I would still think it's kind of sus that they met with the whole like casting couch situation, obviously. But I would look at it differently, probably more favorably.
Yeah.
I don't think
definitely.
that this is normal behavior for any man of his age or his
but has he not like worked enough to prove that it's not some passing thing, that they've been together now for over a decade? They've got 2 kids together.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
maybe
Longevity
it wasn't,
isn't the only
perhaps
sign.
it wasn't the healthiest thing to start. And there's definitely questions that should be asked if we're holding everyone in Hollywood to the same standard about the being a director, being an actor, and then getting a job, and then supposedly getting together conveniently right as he's old enough or like 19 and no longer her employee. Like, look, fine. But does he not get credit for the fact that they seem to work together well?
I mean, they've been together for a long time.
We
So-
know nothing.
But again, and we don't know I honestly, like I said, what the driver for me is just how she looks. Unfortunately, that's where I'm like, this is just weird. Like, why would he, like, biologically, it doesn't make sense. Like, she doesn't even look like she could be fertile. Like, she's not fertile. She doesn't look like she could be fertile. And that's what men evaluate in women.
Yeah.
And for, I don't know, he was very young, like very, very young. I don't know, aspiring actors, they're probably not making much. So obviously they made something of their relationship with the kids and stuff. But it's like, how many 18-year-old boys are really thinking about having a kid? Like, even if they're in love. Like, most men don't have a kid until they're like in their mid to late 20s or early 30s.
They
So
also
that's a little
use
weird.
the line about like he was so mature for his age.
I hate that. Like,
Look,
I'm not talking about it in terms of ethics anymore. I just don't think the vibe is right.
Okay, I think that's a great way to put it, actually.
This might be a fundamental difference between men and women. I see it and I'm like, did they break any laws? No, I don't care. Like,
I mean, that's the right way to look at it, because again, like, everything's so nuanced. Like, we really don't know, and there's so many different situations, and that's the problem when it comes to these things.
she did, however, direct a Bond girl video short back in 2009. So maybe she was the in that he needed to get his interview with Barbara Broccoli to be up for the role of James Bond.
Okay, how serious is this with him becoming James Bond? Because he should not be James Bond.
Why not? I mean,
Can I ask the audience?
The funny thing is like I think he's his best looking when he's got facial hair, and James Bond doesn't really do facial hair. So like it's
he doesn't have the vibe for James Bond.
Who has the vibe?
There would be a lot. I can't name off the top of my head, but I think
no
there's
matter
one.
who is chosen, people will be mad.
Oh, for
yeah,
sure,
of course.
because it's a hard I mean, I don't think there's many men that exist now in terms of Hollywood that have
general,
that
yeah.
charisma and energy that a James Bond must have, and that have had for the past 60 years since it's existed, or whatever, 50 years.
The funny thing is I think he's where they want James Bond to go because they don't want him to be
Inoffensive.
Super,
Passive.
And that's the point. If they're trying to do that, to me, I'm not.
I mean, Regé-Jean Page is more handsome than this dude. Regé-Jean Page is objectively a better looking dude than this dude. It's just that then we have to get into the discussion about race swapping.
I'd rather race swap it than have this guy, honestly.
There you go.
There's my take. I'd rather race swap
There
it.
you go. I mean, he looks like he could
Idris
be
Elba or
like
something.
he looks like he could be Q. He could be because they like no
Q?
Q.
You think?
Yeah, I think he could be Q. I mean, he's too big of an actor, I think, now to play a bit part in that role. But look, she does look like every theater manager I've ever met in my entire life, like local theater manager. She looks like she works in the arts. But if they're happy, they're happy. Like this is a men and a women difference thing. These ladies like went deep, like did a deep dive into like why, like, and I get it. Like your points are valid. You have your own critiques for what may or may not be. I can't bring myself to care as long as no laws were broken and he's not complaining, she's not complaining. What right do I have to tell them not to do their thing?
I mean, I'm not telling them to do
I'm not
anything,
going to
but, like,
inject. I'm not going to find them.
But the thing is,
coerce
there
them.
is a concerted effort right now to make older women like what's in terms of like what's hot. And I think it's something you have to AstroTurf because that's never been the case.
Somebody in the chat mentioned it. Demi Lovato and Ashton Kutcher did this 2 decades ago. 20 years ago.
Demi Moore.
Demi Moore.
Yeah.
They said Demi
Demi Moore,
Lovato.
yeah.
They did this 20 years
Demi
ago.
Moore was hot.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Demi Moore was sexy. That's
Yeah.
the problem. This is what it comes
What
down
is the
to.
appeal of a woman with this physiognomy who probably reads feminist theory?
She's reading. She loves Gloria Steinem, and it's like,
Yeah,
girl,
but okay,
yeah.
so that's assuming that every dude looks for. I mean, maybe because he's more financially viable than the average dude. But these days, I see more like better looking dudes with less good looking women on the street, not in Hollywood.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. I definitely get that, but I just think that this is so extreme of like a difference based on the age and just how she looks at her age. That's
So, but also maybe you're saying that that men evaluate women based on your looks, but your critiques here have to do with looks, which means it matters to women too.
what
Is it
evaluate
possi-
other women.
Yeah, but so maybe he just doesn't have that in him in this case.
I think they're
He just doesn't have a biological imperative.
and then
Well, he clearly has a biological imperative because he's got 2 kids.
He did have kids. So again, maybe there's a mommy issues thing, and maybe this is just a very, and this is a case that, this is why we're talking about it. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And that's why it's an interesting conversation, because it's so bizarre to us, just because it goes against all of the biological instincts that we have, and that men and women have. So, I mean, that's what it comes down to. Again, they're happy, whatever, but I'm standing by
only
my
in
case.
Hollywood.
I
Only in
would-
Hollywood would do these
This
things
is not
happen.
yeah, it's not normal.
And then we contrast this with like Florence Pugh having been in this relationship with Zach Braff that broke off last year. They had a 21-year age gap. She was 27. He was about 47. And I mean, I do have a double standard. I don't care about that. You
that's
know?
no big deal.
I
I
do
do
gosh,
also,
it's just-
that's
And then I'm
really
here
big
like
deal.
I said, like neither of them. I don't have a problem with either of them. Like I said, like my brain goes as far as were any laws broken? Were they legal adults? Were they capable and aware of their own actions when they made those choices? We can talk all day about what their upbringing was. Were they abused as a child? Are there mommy issues there? Are there daddy issues there? I can't speak to that. I can just say that you know what? If he's happy, you know, more power to all the women now, all the mid-looking women working
Power to mid-women.
that can work in the theater and hope that they're going to pull their very own future James Bond.
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately at the end of the day, we don't care
We don't
like
care.
about these
We're just talking
individuals,
about it,
but it's
yeah.
just like the trends are shifting right now. Maybe in the interest of reducing reproduction rates
Yeah.
in the West. I don't know what is planned, what is not, but
And you have
Maybe she's just an absolute panther in the sack.
unlikely.
Look.
I honestly doubt it. I'm sorry, just by looking at her.
She looks rigid.
She looks so exactly. Just
Rigor mortis is setting in already.
rigor mortis. Yeah.
I mean, she literally could be a grandmother by now. She maybe is.
sure.
It's
Well,
both of her
well,
children
yeah,
are
both
in their
are
late
adults.
20s,
Her-
early 30s already.
Yeah.
So
It would be more interesting to see what the relationship is like for him and the stepdaughter who's like nearly his age. That would be interesting.
like it would
to
be
hear.
more normal for them to be dating
together, yeah. But it would
than
be
this.
interesting to see like how the kids like they could have their own reality show. The kids like having to come to accept the fact this is a trope you see in like movies and TV shows, but it's usually the dad marries some younger woman
Yeah.
who's almost the same age
because that's
as
more
the kid.
biologically makes sense. But
Yeah.
also another thing that has to do with this is think of the divorce rates.
Yeah.
A lot of women in their 40s and 50s are divorced and trying to date. And then imagine you're a woman that age, you have certain standards. You kind of have to go either for a younger guy. The men who are older
That's
Keep
your
going.
okay,
That's your
would rather go for a younger woman, 10, 15, 20 years younger. So I think that there's this competitive issue going on in terms of people who are past their first marriage or divorced
Yeah.
and in the dating scene. So I think that there's definitely like going to be more of this happening just because these women are going to try, like maybe the media or whatever is going to try to like make older women sexy. And they are. A lot of them are getting plastic surgery, all that to look better.
Yeah, plastic surgery and all those things have now like increased shelf life.
Absolutely.
To the point where you don't have to just look at it as if you hit the wall when you're 25.
And a lot of women don't. A lot of them look amazing. And
Yeah.
then the incentive for younger men, a lot of men, think about like the job market right now. A lot of guys in their 20s are struggling hard. So let's say you're a 25-year-old guy and there's a woman who's 45 has had a job for 20 years.
MILF Manor, guys.
And this is the
It's a
MILF
recession thing, too.
It's a recession thing. So a lot of them might be looking for an older woman to help provide.
so cougars are a sign of recession. We
cougar-
figured it out.
Perfect. That's
Exactly.
we figured it out here. Look, and this has been going on for a
Cracks the
long time.
code.
These types of the media pushing stuff like this has
Mm-hmm.
been going on for a long time. I'm just not really that into judging them for it. If they're happy, I'm happy.
Good for them.
Yep. All right, we got a couple of super chats there.
Okay, Bobcat said hyphens do not belong in names.
Thoughts?
I gotta agree.
There's a
Especially
really,
on Hannah Claire's behalf. No hyphen.
There's a scene in the show Arrow where when Felicity meets Oliver's mom, and then when he's talking to Walter Steele, she goes, "Does she hyphenate? She looks like a woman who'd hyphenate." Because she's a powerful businesswoman. So apparently powerful businesswoman equals somebody who would hyphenate.
Remember when like Jennifer Lopez got flack for not taking Ben Affleck's name?
How dare she? Well, most of them, they take the name in private but keep their public name, obviously, because
Yeah.
that makes more sense.
Yeah. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. said, Mary Wowzer, that is a spicy take about the age gap. I don't know exactly what I said that made you react that way, but
Maybe
I don't
the
know.
part
I think mine is like the more mainstream opinion.
No, maybe the idea that they think it's okay one way but not okay the other way. Maybe most, I would assume that if most people, if I use myself as like the baseline, like I don't care what other people do. It's like most people are like, I don't care that there's an age gap as long as no crimes were committed, and they, like they just don't care either way.
Can I give firsthand experience? So obviously, like, I have an age gap relationship, and I've dealt like even with other people, like there's definitely a huge stigma, even though I'm not 18, you know, I'm 22, and there's still like huge, like, I don't know, I feel like, I don't know, there's like weird stuff that happens, like people think like what's going on, and it's definitely like weird to people, even though for mine's like the girl's younger, so it's definitely just like a huge thing. But I just think in general, like, I don't know. It's just a controversial topic, but it makes more sense the other way instead of the woman being older. It just seen more often. And it depends where we are, too.
I think that the media has worked very hard to make what is going on with this one the more common one now. Because I think you're instantly stigmatized and called a groomer if you're an older guy with a younger woman. I think Hollywood has worked very hard to push the opposite. Remember, in the MILF Manor thing, they're not creepy. They're empowered. They just want to have some fun. It's like, if a guy said that, you'd be really weirded out. Like, why does a guy just want to have some fun with women that are like a quarter of his age? But the idea here is that Hollywood wants to push one that's acceptable and one that isn't because of Me Too and because of all of these things, and it just goes against the agenda.
Mike Bolin said Cobra Tate should be 007.
Hey, no. Tristan Tate would be a better
Tristan because he has his hair.
He's a legitimately handsome dude. Like give that dude 007.
You're right. Not Alan Rogers said neo-Catholic bitterness over quote breedability is odd.
Thoughts?
I don't really think it's a Catholic thing. I think it's just like a human thing.
Can you repeat what they said?
They said a neo-Catholic bitterness over breedability is odd. And I don't think that has anything to do with Catholicism. I think that's just like the biological reality of all human history. Yeah. That's favorable in females. Corn Pop said, still not blocked. Mary, will you marry me if you divorce? I'm not hoping to divorce in the future. That would be a sad thing, but definitely keeping you in mind, Corn Pop. Thank you.
All right, Mary.
Thanks for the offer.
Mary, I need you to go into this next one because I needed somebody to literally explain HRH to me.
Yeah, so HRH Collection, it actually stands for Her Royal Highness Collection. She sells jewelry online, but she's also a YouTuber and an influencer, and she's gotten a lot of attention in the past like couple of years, I would say, because she's become more outspoken about politics and just more of her controversial beliefs on things, including like body positivity and being anti-mask, anti all of these like COVID regulations. She talks about the way that LA has become such a mess and like how you can't like go in a Starbucks bathroom without stepping on needles and like
literally like appearing in like I would end up at CPAC just listening to her, except for it's like a weird type of not CPAC. Well, it's all the same talking points, but just done from somebody who I look like I would run into at a makeup counter.
Well, she recently got invited on Dr. Phil, which is a much different medium than just talking to your camera on YouTube, obviously. So I think she came on more strong on Dr. Phil than usual. Usually she is just like kind of vibing out in her car and like she's more of a relaxed vibe sometimes. Sometimes she rants also. I enjoy it because I think she's like expressing the chaos that I kind of hold in a lot of the time. And I think you feel that way as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She like my brain internally works the way she talks.
Yeah.
Like,
she jumps around a lot. She like addresses the counter arguments before they're even out there.
My brain is an absolute puddle mess most of the time. And like half the trouble for me on the show is trying to speak coherently when my brain is running in 3,000 different directions, and I struggle with that severely. There are some days that are worse than others. This is actually one of those days where my brain kind of feels like mush most of the time, but her brain like feels like mine when it's actually halfway working but not quite there. Like she's going from here to here, to here, to here. And it's endearing for the people that like it, but to me, it's almost like I see too much of it in there, and I'm like, I can't watch it.
Sure. I think it's definitely more of a women thing. Like, Nina and I are very familiar.
Well, this episode is
with
for
it.
the girls anyway.
It's for the girlies. So here is what she had to say on Dr. Phil about cancel culture. She said, the woke mob and cancel culture have created a very weak, offended generation of fake victims. Cancel culture ruins everything. It ruins free speech. It ruins honesty. It ruins comedy. We have to just go around and pretend like we don't have any opinions other than what the woke left has, or we'll be canceled. I love how on the nose it was.
So on the nose.
I really appreciate that, actually, because that's kind of the level that people watching Dr. Phil are at. Those are intro level opinions.
Yeah, like it's giving them like culture war for dummy vibes.
Exactly.
Like you're reading them like, what is the culture war? And some mom there's like, what is the culture? And then you have to explain them. It's like, if you go into public without a mask, somebody who wants you to wear a mask will yell at you. You will then yell back at them because you do not want to wear a mask. And you have to explain to them very carefully what everything that's going on is. And you kind of take for granted just how much we understand about what's going on with this little culture war that's supposedly...
HRH doesn't always come off as this angry, ranting, like maniac. She also like has a calm way of explaining her opinions, and in person she's actually very nice from what I've seen. I saw her appear on Amala Ekpunobi's show Unapologetic, and it was like a conversational format, so she was more like relaxed and able to explain herself in more depth than Dr. Phil allows. And Dr. Phil, actually, I was surprised to see, pushed back on her opinions here and said, like, well, you don't have expertise in like nutrition, so what ground do you have to talk about, you know, the merits of body positivity or, you know, restricting your calories or whatever. Like, she is a hyper realist when it comes to like taking accountability for yourself.
Which I can appreciate.
Yeah.
110%.
And then he also asked, like, you know, you don't have expertise in health or science, so how do you know that what you're saying about masks is correct? And she's like, I'm using common sense, which I appreciate.
And that's relieving. And I think a big part of it, and it's great that she went on Dr. Phil because it's a huge audience of people that have no idea who she is.
Well, and all those people, they're so disconnected. You can totally tell that they have no idea.
They're zoning out in online shopping with their brain chips.
Yeah, the benefit though is that she's cool.
Yeah.
She really is. She's pretty, she's cool, she's like in.
I think she's kind of niche. I think you think like I think she's cool because
she went really viral on TikTok like last year in 2021.
She's cool and have someone. The problem with Republicans or a lot of stuff is they have an issue with finding someone who's
they're dorks.
They're dorks. They try getting girls who are, and they're just so, they're cornballs. And she's not a cornball.
The women
and
all
she's
look like they picked their dress out from the exact same store, and the men all look like they like pocket protectors.
Like you got
in
Charlie
their suits.
Kirk, and then you got it's
the
like,
mothballs. They just don't. They're dorky.
Oh no! So what did somebody say to me when it said young Republican men look like their mom dresses them for work?
Not cool.
Wearing white socks with black loafers.
Like I have no idea if that's a fair assumption, but that was what somebody said to me once, and I laughed. So it must have a semblance of truth.
And a lot of the girls, I'm not being mean. I'm just saying, in terms of like a general appeal to people want to be cool, especially younger people, and you need to have that. And HRH is cool. And obviously it's been displayed that she has people gravitate to her for that reason. Her business hasn't suffered with her being canceled or people trying to cancel her. So I think having someone like that go on a show and talk about this like canceling and these like right-wing talking points, I think that it's good. And that's why I think she's been doing so well, even though she has been very political lately, especially since COVID. All of her content went mainly, I would say maybe like 50-50 political combined with her jewelry and other
So that's
topics.
what her small business is? It's jewelry.
Yeah. Okay. It's online only, but her business has only done better since she became more outspoken on things, which is a white pill.
Yeah,
the thing is, she was speaking out because her business was suffering under COVID lockdown policies.
Yeah, she couldn't go to her own office. She had an office
Like
in
the
LA.
gym
then,
owners
like,
who spoke out.
Once you get social media censorship, if you are selling something through the internet, you're essentially getting your business unfairly taken away from you.
And that's a really big conversation to have, because she said, like, I think she said she had 5 accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers or whatever taken down from Instagram for no reason. I remember the first time it happened, I was following her. She posted she was at a Larry Elder event. This was when he was like running for governor. And I remember the next day was when her account got deleted. It's not, she doesn't post, you know, inappropriate stuff. And it's just because of that. So she's obviously being targeted by Instagram, which happens.
Yeah.
And when you're a business owner, that's literally the worst thing that can happen.
devastating.
To you. It's devastating. And this is how they get you to stay in line. Because if somebody tries doing that and risking a whole account they've built up being taken down, where they get revenue from, and that's how they sell their product or whatever, it's really bad. So it's definitely a conversation to be had about how Instagram and those social media sites work in terms of their censorship and the real life consequences of it.
I also seem to think that, or it seemed apparent to me that like a lot of the conservative women were doing better about speaking out during COVID. Like there was a lot of really, really good videos going out, at least on Reels and on TikTok, with women speaking out. Very same common sense type stuff against mask mandates, against these types of things.
Especially
I enjoy
at like
that.
the PTA meetings.
Yeah,
and
well,
stuff.
yeah, stuff like
but
that.
But also, like, we weren't allowed to stroll around Target and Home Goods and TJ Maxx in peace. Like,
And
that's
the
a
mall,
big deal to women.
It
these
is a big
days.
deal. That's a really, exactly. So yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that Alex talks about is like when she gets on body positivity, because it really is such a lie. Like, all of these people are self-hating or liars. The skinny ones are lying. Yeah. Like when they make these what I eat in a day videos, they're all like, you know, intuitive eating, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. They're all liars. Yeah. They all are like on their Peloton for 5 hours a day when they don't show you.
Hey, Peloton is like I had a couple of friends who got really into Peloton and like changed their life.
Yeah, and that's cool. But
like
would they go on Instagram and say like, you know, eat whatever junk food you want and
like
like
they would not.
Eat whatever you feel like you need? And like, no, they wouldn't. But it's disingenuous. And then all of the fat people in the fat positivity movement are just self-hating and don't want to admit that they have the power to turn their lives around. Yeah.
Do you think some of this is also like when we cover topics like this, like when we're critiquing people, I have a hard time with it. Like when we talk about individuals and specific stories, like this isn't really about a specific story. This is just about her general take on stuff. But like even on the previous one, it wasn't really about a certain incident with her, like with Aaron Taylor Johnson. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was about an overall take on their relationship. It's easier for me to critique people based on like a situation or an example. It's kind of what we do here. But for this, it's kind of like the idea is that she's pushing back and they're just judging her and taking her down because of what she says all the time. We're making a couple of comments here and there, and she's suffering real world consequences. Yeah. I don't believe, you know, you can judge whether it's good to talk about stuff like this, but nobody's trying to get these people's business taken down. Nobody's trying to tell Aaron Taylor Johnson he can't act anymore.
Exactly.
No one's trying to tell his wife that she can't direct movies anymore. I think there's a distinction to be made there.
Yeah, and that's why this is, I would say it's much more dire. And again, it's good to have someone talk about it because not many people are. You know, most people, if they have a business online or they're an influencer online, they're putting their career first, which most people do. Money comes first. So they're going to preach the same bullshit and they're going to say, oh, get your, you know, back when the vaccine was popular, telling you to do that. There was no one who was going to say what the real, even if they felt a certain way, they don't care. It's about making money. So someone like Alex doing this, and she's gained a lot of attention and she makes money from her jewelry sales, luckily, but there's definitely consequences for it. And it's really showing that this cancel culture, it's not just like a meme. It's not just like, oh, you're getting canceled. Like there's real consequences. Yeah.
Do you think she reaches an audience larger than most people in that same sphere? That she reaches outside the realm of just conservatism?
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, definitely.
And you want to do that.
Most of her audience, I think, is more just like apolitical and mostly younger women, which is definitely the demographic that the conservative movement has been trying and repeatedly failing to reach. Yeah. And all of these viral, like out of context clips of her have been everywhere online. And I just sent you one of them so that we can like show something that isn't copyrighted. Like Dr. Phil is definitely going to get us copyrighted. But I just wanted you guys to like get a feel for what she does on her channel.
Energy wagon so wet. Like, shut up. Like, what do you think I'm a like gangbanger in a fucking white G wagon? Like, shut. Like, what do you think I'm doing here?
Okay, so
I got harassed by a Nazi this morning. But they were so loose in front, I legitimately thought I was going to see his testicles.
Look, to me, there's a lot of genuine personality there. Like, it's too unfiltered to not be genuine. Like, it's not, obviously, like, this is way outside the realm of anything that I would watch, but it's so genuine that you can almost appreciate the lack of a filter. Like, in a world where, like, I was talking to someone recently, I said, there's no such thing as a genuine photo anymore online because everyone takes the photo twice and everyone edits the photo. Even if you don't edit it, just the fact that you can look to see if it turned out right and then take the photo again. There was a genuineness to photos back in the day because you got your one chance to take the photo and that's what it was. So how you actually interpreted the experience was different. It seems as if, unless I'm misinterpreting, and she does these things a couple of times, then she's just a really good actor because she's able to
completely unedited.
So it's like I can appreciate that even if it's not the type of content that I would normally watch.
And she's been doing this for like over 10 years.
And I'm sure she's reaching a lot of people that way because one of the hardest things to do is come across genuine online.
Right. And all of these people are commenting like, she's so relatable. She sounds like my inner voice.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's your inner voice, maybe, try to work on that. But I mean, I relate too. Like, that's me. I also like that, she promotes taking care of your appearance and caring about, like, doing things intentionally.
But she's
having
smoking.
intention behind.
But she's smoking.
But that's the thing,
because
she
it's
used
a
to be fat.
vibe.
No, but she used to be fat. Like 4 years ago, she was definitely like 50, 60 pounds overweight. And that's why it's great that she talks about it, because it's not like she's a girl who's already skinny. Like, she's struggled with her weight. So it's more genuine than when she says, I eat this many calories, this is what I had to do to lose weight. It's coming from a real place because she had to go through it and deal with the struggles. It's not easy to, lose 50 pounds.
I would have to meet her in real life to know what she's like there, to be able
Let's
to
get
pass
HRH on the
judgment.
podcast.
Yeah, she
on
would
the
come.
podcast.
She's been on like everything, so she would reach out to her.
Yeah, why
DM
not?
her.
It's weird. Like, to me, like, for this type of, it comes across as real to me because maybe it's because it's so outside the realm of how I behave. Like, I would never put myself out there like that. But maybe she did record this a couple of times, and like, I don't know.
doubt it.
No,
I don't know.
It really is. She just records on her phone and then she just splices everything together, and she posts like once or twice a week every single
It's just
week.
like 30 minutes or more of like just unedited rant.
This is
her
why
driving to work,
This is
like-
why cancel culture will never go away, though, because you can't, like, well, we may find it endearing, but the average person, I don't think that they will allow this message to. It doesn't come off the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
I wanted to move on and talk about this documentary that Pamela Anderson is making. It's going to go to Netflix at the end of the month. And she's doing this in partnership with Netflix. And I think that it's an attempt to respond to Pam and Tommy, which is the limited series that was on Hulu last year.
Okay.
And it focuses on the exposure of her sex tape, basically, and what it did to her career. And, obviously the culture was somewhat different back then, where people reacted to those things a lot differently. The internet didn't exist. OnlyFans, certainly didn't exist. So this limited series, Pam and Tommy, was made without her permission or her blessing or her approval.
She's
and
on
she
Broadway
said
now.
that.
Like, isn't she
Really?
like doing Broadway now? I think
That's
Seems-
cool.
Yeah.
She dated Julian Assange.
Oh,
Oh, that's
Did you know
awesome.
that?
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
she did.
For how long?
I don't know. I just remember it must have been like several
That's
months
cool.
at least. Yeah.
She was-
kind of random.
She was
but-
absolutely the epitome of beauty in her
She
prime.
is. I mean, she still looks amazing.
She's-
but
She does.
yeah, I think this is interesting to talk about because it does just juxtapose how we were talking about Bhad Bhabie doing OnlyFans. Like, now I think when we judge things, we see most, like, anything sexual or whatever, is the people promote it themselves. It's very rare. Like, obviously we had like stuff being leaked before with celebrities, but now we kind of see it as like a currency and people release it themselves. But back then she was judged so harshly
and trying to get it to not have it put out. She wanted
Yeah.
to get it off the internet.
she was judged so harshly based on something that was stolen from her and was private, attempted to be kept private that no one else sees. And she suffered real consequences because of that, and she had no financial benefit from it or anything. It was she couldn't get it taken down, and that was back then. So it really does show how our views on sexuality have changed just because of OnlyFans and the trying to normalize it.
I mean, even the fact that the conversation about this sex tape is still going on in
30,
2023 is really telling that, like, these days, human psychology, the human brain has not changed at all.
Yeah.
And these things do follow you afterwards. It's not a consequence-free thing to do of your own volition, but even if it's done against your will, it will follow you.
Exactly.
How about the idea of getting these these autobiographical documentaries made? Like, think about Madonna, how she's
There's
going to
so many
she's
of them.
going
I
to
hate
produce
them.
she's
The
gonna
biopics.
produce
I hate biopics.
Madonna's going to produce her own, and like she's going to be in charge of it, so that a man can't be in charge of her story. Those were her words, not mine.
We just need to end. I hate I could do a whole like 30-minute.
Oh, go for
discussion.
it. Like,
I hate
what is it that you don't like about it?
Because all of this stuff that's happened, we have video of it, and most people are still alive.
Yeah.
So we just
That's
don't
the problem we
need
have,
It.
is, like,
it's
it's
just
like-
unnecessary. Like, we know this stuff happened. Come up with
At
something
least
new or
die
creative.
before
at
we
least
make
die.
a
Yeah, at
movie
least
about
die.
you, you know?
Yeah, or do a documentary. But like, just it's just getting done. I wish there was more original content. Like, speaking about the Velma
Definitely.
stuff, it's like doing a Scooby-Doo whatever. You're using like, why isn't there anything new or creative?
It's
or new
harder to
characters?
market new stuff.
Is that what it
it's
is?
a lot of it's like they could have easily made the horrible Velma show under a new name and made the exact. I mean, there's almost no connection to the source material.
I can't
There's no
think of
Scooby in it anyways. Like, you could make a show with generically awful people being generically awful to one another and sold it, and you wouldn't have gotten a quarter of the press, because unfortunately it's got people like us who are falling for, we fall into the trap of like, we talk about it because it's so bad and because it's relevant to the previous generation who loved the material that came before it, even though what we're watching now has not even a hint of the love that was shown for the previous material.
Right. And the fact that they moved Velma to be set in the present day instead of in the 60s, the 70s, like when this was created, at least with the 2000s, like What's New Scooby-Doo, that still had something reminiscent of it, but there's nothing recognizable as being part of this IP anymore. Like, nothing.
I don't know where they go with that, but for Pamela and Tommy, is there somebody whose autobiography you would want to see made into a...
I think Anna Nicole Smith.
Anna Nicole Smith,
like,
if it was done right.
Okay.
I would love that. I think
Is this
that's
like a
great
uniquely
story.
like? Is it only interesting to tell women's stories here? Or there are guys like, it seems like all.
I mean,
the
we
ones
had
where-
Elvis.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stories about men, and I just think women are more interesting.
That could-
More interesting.
I mean, maybe women find women more interesting.
Yeah, and maybe
men
that's
find men
true.
more interesting.
Go
Go
figure.
figure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of men that want.
There's a Whitney
watch,
Houston one that's out right now. I
yeah.
couldn't be less interested in that though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
They're oversaturating the market with all of
It's
these
too
biopics.
much.
It's kind of like
for
true
sure.
crime. It's kind of like true crime. True crime
yeah.
is kind of fallen into that category now. It's like we're
It's still doing well though.
Yeah,
like,
it's
Dahmer
like-
did incredibly well.
yeah.
on Netflix.
His one of the victims' parents spoke out against the actor Evan Peters winning an award, winning a Golden Globe for his role in Dahmer. They were very upset about that. But
Yeah.
like, true crime is also very, very different, because for me, I don't have any interest in true crime. Like, I understand where the pull for it comes, but even when you do, like, when shows do like pull, like, ripped from the headlines, I almost like that better, because really good ripped from the headlines can take the best not the best, but the most interesting aspects of it and put it into characters that might be a little bit more forward friendly for the television or the movie market, right? So it's like, a lot of times one of the biggest problems people have is that they take a lot of liberties when they tell these stories.
Yeah.
I would rather you do ripped from the headlines, and even when it's bad, it's done really bad. But when it's done right, it means you can be creative as a writer and not be just passing off fiction as nonfiction just for the sake of using a real person's name in it.
yeah.
I mean, dramatized true crime I can tolerate if it's done right.
Yeah.
But if it's just some YouTuber telling a story while they're like
Doing makeup.
a
Yeah.
mukbang
Doing a
or doing their
mukbang,
makeup,
makeup,
like it's no
bad.
big deal. Hate that vibe.
It's
Like,
really bad, and I'm glad people are bringing it up, because there's difference. Like, there's some channels who do take it very serious and they raise money. They really do it as an activist cause in entertainment. But some of them, they make jokes. It's just really
Yeah.
inappropriate.
It's very like there's been times like where we'll be going into like from one topic to another, and I'm laughing because of something that's said in a previous topic, and the new topic comes up and it's very serious, and then you have to like, you look at
Tone
yourself.
switch,
I'm editing
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, why was I making that fit like my face at that point? But I think we stay away from that for the most part. I think most of what we cover ends up being like
we try to
But
be
you're not
silly
profiting
here.
off of people's suffering. I mean, that's what they're honestly doing by making
Yeah.
these stories. And again, obviously there's a place for it, but I just think that it kind of needs to be, okay, we need to get a handle on this and realize that this needs to be respected because it's a real story. It's not made up. And that's the difference. If you want to do stuff that's new, come up with a story, write a script for something that's never happened. Like, that's what I wish there was more creativity in terms of these artistic fields. And maybe it's just because of reality TV. And I think we perceive everything. The thing about TikTok, our lives are documented second by second, and I think that's how we're trying to start perceiving the past. And it's like, we don't have to, like, things can happen, maybe we don't know every detail, but that can exist as it was. We don't need a visual of Pamela Anderson and Tommy. Like, we don't need the actors to look like, you know what I mean?
That might be a generational thing.
It might be a generational
I think
thing,
there's probably plenty of men and women from my generation and even like Gen X, probably more Gen X even more than that, like that have an interest in seeing something like this made. You know, the housewife or somebody's at home wants to watch something like this. I do think that there's a market for it there. I think it's a generational gap because you guys know the basic outline of like what happened, but I don't think you could actually understand the cultural relevance that she had unless you lived through that era. Like, she was one of the quintessential definitions of a sex symbol.
Absolutely.
At a time that had, you know, she kind of defined that whole life. Has anybody seen VIP? So somebody in the chat will understand.
I only knew about Baywatch.
Baywatch or Barbed Wire. Like, there's like a lot of stuff that she defined an era at a time when Hugh Hefner was a big deal, when all of this stuff was going on. It's like we talk about, I mean, you guys talk about Paris Hilton. Like, you've talked about Paris Hilton quite a bit. Like, that's a whole nother generation, a time period. She's kind of the quintessential woman of her time in the way that Paris Hilton ushered in the woman of the reality TV era a couple of years later.
Anna Nicole Smith was also in that reality TV era
One
of
of
the
the first
2000s
ones.
with a similar tragic ending. I mean, obviously, Pam Anderson, she's still alive. She's trying to tell her story still. But there's a lot of tragedy involved in, like, being a sex symbol. Like, we just saw this new biopic about Marilyn Monroe with Ana de Armas, and they're trying to capitalize on that there.
Yeah, it's a trope, and it happens over and over again. And it sucks for Pamela Anderson, but like I said, we were there or we have footage, and I don't know, I don't know. My issue is just the movie dramatization of it. That's where I'm coming from with it. But I get what you're saying. Like, I totally understand that there's an like interest in it. Like, I get that.
How about the idea of time passing, right? So everything happens in a vacuum now, and everything happens so quickly. But what you're going to have to think about is, who were the influencers of your time? And now think about, they're not going to be influencers forever. They're going to attempt to stay relevant for a long, long time. But who do you think would be the most quintessentially relevant influencer of your generation?
Is Andrew Tate up there?
Andrew Tate is blown up, but in terms of like longevity, I think that Trisha Paytas is definitely going to be on the Internet Hall of Fame. Well, like, in terms of her longevity and how she's there's people who had their mark where it's like, and she's lasted a while, but they had their mark, and it has gone. And I think it's so quick online too that. Back then, the media was very narrow on what people were interested in. Like, you had a few, shows on TV, and you had your kind of that mainstream thing. But now it's different niches. Like, I'm not like into anime.
Because
anime have these, whatever it might be. So it's all over the place.
When there was only 5 channels and 5 cable networks, you were told what was relevant. Now that is a far different world that we live in now. But let's take Trisha Paytas, right? So let's fast forward 25 years. She's not doing things on the internet now. Maybe at this point she's running businesses. Maybe she gets those businesses up and running that she was having trouble launching now. That interest will still be there for your generation because first of all, she's going to come back into the picture. She's going to have her commentary on it. You're like, oh, I forgot about her. Like, that interest will organically reappear, and it will be interesting to see how they make biopics in like 20 years when everything's done online anyways.
Everything's been done and shown.
Yeah. I've talked about this. I believe it's going to become like an anthropology. I think it's going to be taught in school. I think there's going to be people who go back into the internet from the late 90s to now and sort through it and really study it. Like, I think this is going to be something that's studied profusely in the future, like in 100 years. Like, there's just so much there that it's going to be a big deal. And so these figures, I think, are going to be really important long term in terms of studying like psychology. I really think it's going to get really deep. And right now we don't think of it as deep. It's like, oh, this is just social media for us. But I think it's really going to be studied like extensively, like historic. It's going to get a historical
I was talking
perspective
yesterday about a friend of mine who's a teacher and was talking about how he believed partially social media, but in general, how he says there's a sense of isolation in hopelessness amongst teens that has to be tied to living consistently online all the time, all the expectations that come with that. Even the idea of, like, we were talking the other day about somebody we know who has got a pager and he doesn't have a cell phone.
And I was like, how do people page him?
And here's like the idea that
I was doing it,
the idea that he lives in a world where he doesn't have to get back to you right away. Where you don't have to feel anxiety every time something rings in your pocket. And he's somebody who creates digital content. He creates digital content, but just doesn't carry a phone around with him. Like he creates his stuff, he puts it out, and then he puts out his next video, but he doesn't get extremely tied to to the connection aspect of it. He just sees it as a way to portray his art or whatever he's making. So we're going to look back, and I think a lot of these early influencers are going to be seen as kind of the guinea pigs for the way things are.
Like Shane Dawson too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he's kind of fallen off the face of the earth. I haven't checked up on him in a while.
He's been successfully canceled.
He kind of has, but he still has fans. Like if he came back to YouTube, I think that a lot of them would just act like nothing ever happened.
Think so?
Because like
he tried a few times, but the thing is, he has such a huge following anyway. But I think he's tried to do like true crime stuff or whatever, and it really, the amount of views are so low that I think that's why now he just doesn't even do anything, because it's not even worth it compared to how much he used to make online, and the amount of hate that he gets is just really bad.
That's even something that's worth talking about. So to me, like you get to a certain size on a platform where you just accept that you're going to be hurled vitriolic comments at all times, even if you're like mostly beloved. Most people aren't designed to constantly be given input from hundreds of thousands of people, right? So even if you're 80% loved, that's still, if 1 million people love you, but that's still 100,000 people that hate you. And that's a lot of people. The average person who's not constantly online, who doesn't build a platform, even if you just have your Facebook and you talk to your family and friends, we're not designed to constantly be critiqued, criticized, and insulted to your face. Like it's different. I think that like celebrities get used to it. I think celebrities build up and they detach, and I think we could even say that they have a right to their belief. Like we talk a lot about how celebrities never seem to respect their audience. Celebrities never seem to respect their fans. If I had to deal with hundreds of thousands of people telling me I'm awful, even if it's somebody that you don't like, right? There's a point where it scabs over and you just don't care anymore. And is it good for their business model? No, it's not. But I understand where that feeling comes from, because as a human being, you're not built to be constantly criticized.
No, we're not even built to know as many people as we know. Think about all the faces. I think for, I don't know, probably until the 1900s, most people only saw or met maybe like 200 people in their whole life.
Yeah, in their whole life.
And like, think about that. And now you probably see 200 people just scrolling your phone all day. You probably see that many new faces, let alone interacting and communicating and projecting to that many people. So our brains just aren't like what's happening and how our brains we're still functioning how we were tens of thousands of years ago, basically.
And it's a bit of hubris for us to expect that this much could change this drastically and not have us affected.
Exactly. And it's like we're not functioning how we, at the right level.
Does it affect you? Does it affect you?
Yeah, I think there's only so much you can get used to. And I think it depends on someone who's huge, they might have to learn. But I think at the core, like, if somebody says something mean, you're going to focus on that. Yeah. And
people say that they don't. I don't believe. I think I've had people tell me that it actually gets easier the bigger you get, because eventually, like Joe Rogan says, he's like, I just don't read the comments. Like he's so busy. He's a businessman. But there's like a certain size of your platform where you're big, but you're not so big that you're not going to at least look to see how people are talking about you. Joe Rogan, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But for an influencer like micro influencers, that was a thing we covered a while back. Like, that's a thing. Like that almost seems like the worst place to be, because you're big enough to get your brand deals, you're big enough to reach a ton of people, but you're also going to get a corresponding amount of disdain from people.
And the money you're making isn't really
worth it.
I mean, when it comes to actual celebrities like A-listers, and the way you say, we see they disrespect or seem to have contempt for their audiences. Yeah. That's true, but at the same time, I think because they're showered with praise and adulation so constantly as well. Yeah. They because a lot of them are narcissists.
That's what I was going to get into.
They hate themselves, and then they don't respect themselves. Therefore, they don't respect anyone else who sees them in this idolized light.
And I think that bringing up the narcissism a great point, or whatever you want to call it. A lot of people who become that successful and famous, they have a level of either whatever it might be, whatever, where it doesn't affect them. Like they're so
it goes right over.
They don't care the accolades they get professionally or money. it would be great to be that way.
I'm
Well, they're on
envious
this
of that.
constant seesaw of like hate and praise, hate, praise, hate, praise, and that's what they want.
Yeah.
You know?
And they need attention, and in terms of like, so that kind of personality, and there's figures that are even online, like influencers who definitely have that, whatever you want to call it, they have that perspective. That's why they're able to get so successful without folding, without getting overwhelmed and stressed out.
Like I think a lot of people they get to a certain point and they just give up. They're like, I can't take it anymore.
think
Like,
that's a lot of people.
Do you think that happened to Jenna Marbles?
Yes, I think she's a real person. I think she's a good person. I think at a certain point, it's just not worth it.
I could never do it. Like I could never. Like this is like as much as I can take. Like subjecting the public, like subjecting yourself to like the opinions of people judging every opinion you have. Like I love the work, I love what we do, but it's like I'm just such a private person, and I'm so guarded with most of my
I feel.
beliefs and my views that I don't know if I could actually handle it if the show grows past a certain, like I worry about that. Like,
And that's something to consider. And these differences with celebrities is a lot of them, they were prepared to become a celebrity. Most of them are related somehow.
Yeah,
so they were
they
prepared,
Media
and they're
trained and everything.
and they're wealthy. They live in a gated community. They have people around them that will help them. For somebody who's trying to grow online, you don't have that. And you have all these psychos online, especially depending on the area you're in. Your whole family's getting doxxed. You're getting doxxed.
Yeah.
That's what you have to face. Like, this will happen to me. And most people, it's not worth it. Like, it's just like, I don't want to deal with being swatted, being doxxed,
Yes.
having associates of mine being called and harassed, my family, and that's something that impacts a lot of people and stops them from possibly getting to a point where they are making a lot of money online.
which is it's almost like trial by fire. You have to see if you can get past that point to even get there. Like, Mary, do you think that's something, does it bother you? Does the pushback or anything? I don't know if that happens enough.
I mean, the back and forth is inherent to what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if this were structured differently, then it would feel more like one-sided. And
Yeah.
if I didn't have the chance to actually have a back and forth with the audience, it would be more difficult when we get pushback. But like, I like to think of it as a sort of at least the appearance of a conversation.
Well, like, just for me, it's like so much of like what we talk about, right? Like when we're getting ready to do the show, everything like that, those conversations aren't always something that I would necessarily want to make public. You know, like what you talk about, what people don't want to admit this a lot of time, how you talk in private is not the same way you talk in public. Some people are more hyperbolic in like on a show or something like that. They know how to turn it up to 11. Like I'm the opposite. I'm far more guarded because I don't like you. At a certain point, you have to just accept that you're going to be misrepresented.
Yeah, exactly.
And that people are going to take you out of context. You know, it's like they read what you say and they take the one thing that they could misinterpret and interpret it that way on purpose. So what you're saying is this, like, it's still shocking to me sometimes when I'll say something and the things that people, it's kind of interesting because it talks about like, it speaks to like what we as a society value, that I could say 5 things in one paragraph, and I'm interested as to what people choose to focus on based on what their interests are. And it's like, then if 5 people reach out to you about 5 separate things, and I try to engage with as many people as possible, especially those that are kind, like you then having to justify that thing you explained or that thing you pointed out to like every single person. And then people, if you don't, then people get mad at you for not being engaging with them or not being, relatable to your fans or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
people feel entitled to you, and that's the problem. That's the issue.
I want to reel it back to like our conversation regarding biopics and like all of these celebrity autobiographical documentaries and everything, like the obsession with being able to tell the story. Like, I'm going to tell my story my way. That's exactly what Velma said.
Back
by
in
the
the
way,
day,
in
wouldn't
the
it feel
pilot.
like, wouldn't it feel like back in the day that they would have said, they can tell that story about me when I'm dead? Like they would have just
Yeah.
accepted that it was like something was going to be done about them. They wouldn't have been so self-indulgent that they needed
Right,
to have it.
self-indulgent.
They
Well-
didn't need to have it. They didn't need to have it
I
told
mean,
while they were alive.
regarding the Elvis one, at the very least, like, this man is dead and other people can tell his story for him. However, because this movie had Priscilla's approval and even her involvement, I doubt that it was done with a lot of accuracy and honesty. And also, like, now we've seen Lisa Marie Presley has died. Also,
rest in
like
peace.
That was yesterday.
That's super sad.
Yeah.
she like died of some medical emergency. Like, I think it was a cardiac arrest. But also, like, her son took his own life only a couple of years before that. There's a lot of tragedy in this family. And now Priscilla is the only, like, survivor of Elvis that, you know, was close to him.
That was there, yeah.
But at the same time, I think any work that gets her blessing and her approval is going to be warped and not accurate to reality.
It's almost like better if they're not
That's
involved.
why these celebrities need to, like, not involve themselves in these works that are about them, because it's just poisonous for both parties.
But then even then you have to worry about what the director's agenda
there's a narrative.
is. Like,
Either way,
like,
it's gonna be a narrative.
It's always going to have a narrative to it. But the average person doesn't just want to watch a biography; they want to see the dramatized version of it. I saw some people. It was really interesting. There's a YouTuber and like an Instagram. She's a dancer that I follow that I really like her. Her name's Enola Beddard. She was like a backup dancer. Now she's a choreographer, and she's just got this like infectiously, like, she's not American, she's French Canadian, and she lives in America now, and she seems so like kind, like, she, if it's a persona, it's a really good one. But she directed like a Shania Twain video, she got to go to the Grammys, all this stuff, and she was at like the premiere, like the recent like party for Elvis's birthday, right?
Oh, okay.
Like that just happened because they just had that. And the comments were just like half people that were like, "You go, Queen," and the other half were like, Elvis was a creep and stuff like this, and it's like, why, how could you go and do this? And you could tell she doesn't know anything that happened with Presley.
I mean, yeah, going to this party means you, like, endorse everything
exactly.
Elvis ever did or said.
Did everyone that ever went to see Baz Luhrmann's Elvis movie, are they all signing off on what Elvis did when he was younger to what's her name, like
Priscilla and
to
other
Priscilla.
girls? Yeah, and this is the problem too. Is like this is the issue with the personal life thing and the biopics. It's I don't know, in the weeds of somebody's personal life. It's like we need to learn how, like, separate the art from the artist. That's what has been done for a very long time. Like, yeah, all of these people have flaws. Everybody has flaws, and a lot of them are very bad.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, are we going to harp on that? What happened, especially with Elvis so long ago? The social standards were so different back then.
And people have a problem with that. They don't like the idea that, like, I say this to Marielle all the time. Like, there'll be times where, like, we'll be talking about something crazy that happened, and she'll say it, and she'll sound, like, incredulous. And I'm like, it was the 90s. Like, it wasn't even that long ago. It was like 30 years ago. But, like, we're not even talking the 90s. We're talking way back when, right? But it's like, the world really was, I don't know if it was different. I imagine that there was just as much judgment from people, but information wasn't so easily found or passed. Sure. I didn't know anything about the Elvis thing until like this year. I didn't know about any of that.
And how would you have known?
Yeah, unless you're into it.
Unless you love Elvis and you're going to.
Yeah.
But we have to be educated about every person's scandals now, like whether they're dead or alive, no matter who they are. And it's just like, I'm exhausted and I don't care.
I think that's a reason why so many people are unhappy these days. You're not allowed to just not be knowledgeable about something anymore. Yeah. You're not, like, what was I watching the other night where they're having this discussion and somebody says something kind of dumb and everyone points out to them that it's dumb, but they point it out in a way like, oh, you didn't know that. Like, oh, how did you not know that? Now you're actually looked at as like a bad person if you do not have, if you did not do 120,000% of the research on this one topic.
Yeah, I mean, the saying is ignorance is bliss.
Yeah,
right.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true.
So you can be ignorant about things. It's okay. Like, same with politics. Not every girl who's 20 years old needs to be politically informed. Like, you don't have to.
In fact,
be.
it's better if they're not.
It's better if you're not. It really is.
Like I feel that way. Like here, it's like I'm happier not knowing, like I was more politically informed when I didn't work here because I had more time with my job and everything that I could get free. I could watch videos while I was working. And now I'm so busy with work that I just don't have that time, and I'm happier for it. I mean, the Hollywood stuff is still really gross a lot of the time, and there's still plenty of stuff there that I don't like knowing about. And obviously there's a whole agenda there between what Hollywood's trying to do to American culture. But in general, it feels like the political stuff is worse to know about more often. Like, don't worry, I still watch videos. I still stay somewhat informed, but maybe I just disconnected emotionally from it because you realize that so much doesn't change.
Yeah.
And it's like, sure. I would love to live in a world, like, we're kind of in the post-truth era. Andrew Tate has proved to us that we're in the post-truth era. There is no truth but power, and misinformation and actually not even misinformation. Disinformation is the tactic of every side now. Like, just finding out whether he was in jail was a chore.
Yeah.
Because you'd
And
go
then
to a
people
comment
acted
section.
like you failed by not knowing whether he was in jail still or not.
Yeah,
Like,
because everybody would be talking about like, no, he was released, and then they would go on about people would strategically point out, oh no, it wasn't misinformation, it wasn't disinformation. I just didn't know that he was swatted in April and is still in jail now. Half those people might be misinformed. The other half want to just muddy the waters and make it harder for you as a human being to be able to trust yourself with anything you learn on the internet. I don't. When I read stuff now, I have to go back and double check to make sure that I actually read that.
I don't even double check anything anymore. Like, I let the amalgamation of everyone's different takes about things inform me, and if I end up, not being correct about the facts of the matter, like, so be it.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen from that?
And here, like, it's not my job to be politically informed. Like, it's my job as a citizen, I guess, to be as politically informed as you can be if you're voting. But on the show, like, it's not my job to be politically informed about, like, I don't need to know what Ron DeSantis is doing, though that comes up with Florida. I don't need to know what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing. I don't need to know.
I'm more interested in what's going on with Kanye West.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So, like, who cares?
Speaking of Kanye West.
Speaking of.
Kanye West has been nominated for an Image Award from the NAACP.
NAACP secretly based. That's what somebody said.
Are they?
Are they secretly based? Yeah. They
I mean,
apparently
they're
don't
like,
care.
hey, we're not the ADL. Like,
Yeah.
why are we supposed to care about your standards?
They apparently don't care, and they're nominating him for an award.
Best hip hop song for City of Gods with Alicia Keys. She seemed happy about this nomination. I just find it funny. I find it ironic because, like, people are learning slowly that you can't just enforce a unanimous opinion of someone on every organization and individual. Like, people who like Kanye are going to continue liking Kanye.
Oh,
But
yeah,
it's not up to you.
Somebody laughed really hard. Phil laughed really hard when I said that I went back and I listened to more Kanye now than I did before it happened. Not because that I agreed with anything he said, but just because I'm like, oh, I forgot. I freaking love his music.
Exactly.
And I went back and I listened to 808s and Heartbreaks. And I went back and I listened to Graduation Day. And I'm like, holy crap, this is a vibe. I love this song. We Can Make It Better. I love all this stuff. And like, but maybe that's
I don't
because
think you should feel bad for doing that.
But also,
Like,
I think like part of it is like if I have to separate art from artist for everyone else, I can separate it for him. Like if I have to listen to Pedro Pascal call everyone who didn't vote for Joe Biden a Nazi and still want to go see and still be going to see the Last of Us TV show, still watch the Last of Us TV show, I can separate art from artist from something I actually like Kanye West music, right? Like if I get to,
and
if
we
I
have to do that anyway because all of these people, all performers, are generally like maladjusted people.
They're usually not good people. No,
not good people.
They're not Mother Teresa's. No, they're not.
Well, it's like, think about it. You separate art from artist for something you're eventually not even gonna like watching The Last of Us, which is likely going to be a clown show. I can at least separate art from artist.
Oh
yeah, well, no, I
give
said
it a chance to prove itself, of course.
I mean, actually, it's probably good that we watch Velma beforehand because it will seem
to
like
cleanse
a cake
the palate.
Yeah, it will seem like a cake. Oh, I went back. What did I rewatch? I watched the original Blade as soon as it was done, and I watched what was the other thing that I watched? I watched two things last night, and I can't remember what the second one was. Oh, old episodes of the show Life, because somebody got me watching that. And there's all this great stuff in that show early on where the character that Sarah Shahi, the character of Danny Reese, finally starts to trust her partner. I'm like, look, people conveying actual human emotion, or at least trying to convey actual human emotion after watching that abomination that was Velma. Like, I had to cleanse my palate with, like, something that was just kind of good.
It's like after you watch a scary movie, you have to watch like SpongeBob before you go to bed. So
Like,
feel better.
It is what it is. So yeah, Kanye West NAACP award. Does Trump still have his NAACP award? I think he won an NAACP.
What did he win?
He won he won like a Rosa Parks award or something like that. So the chat will know what I'm talking about.
I don't know anything about
like
the NAACP.
He won some type of award that was for good works.
I'm Googling it.
Googling it right now.
We're fact checking.
Pull that up, Jamie.
I'm pulling. Yeah,
Jamie,
exactly.
Jamie, pull it
Okay,
up.
I'm on a Reuters fact check.
Ooh, they're double checking us here.
Okay.
I'm reading this right now. The claim is partially false.
Oh.
He was a recipient of one of the inaugural Ellis Island Medals of Honor.
That's what it was.
And it was
Okay.
acknowledgement of his German heritage and contributions to New York's business and real estate world. So the award was not about racial justice.
But he got it with what's her name? It should say in there.
I don't know.
Shows the future president with Rosa Parks. So in the picture, he was with Rosa Parks, Muhammad Ali, Joe DiMaggio, and some other people.
Rosa Parks
she was-
also got the award. I want to point out in the chat, Dragon's Talon 1001 says, now Brett's take on the She-Hulk is, it was okay, definitely not as bad as Velma, when before She-Hulk was horrendous. No, I only got through the first 20 minutes of She-Hulk because we didn't have to review it.
Did you see Megan Thee Stallion twerking?
I watched, of course. like
They're obsessed with twerking, these screenwriters. Like, I don't know what it is.
We gave up. Like, I gave up on She-Hulk because I'm like, I'm not forcing myself to watch something I'm gonna hate. But this time it was for a review. Like, I'm not gonna watch it for fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna, there's too much out there that's good that I'm not going to sit through stuff that sucks just because it sucks. That's a different class of person that likes to watch stuff that's awful. I'm not that person.
Let's go to Super Chats.
We got a couple there.
Caper2X said, Brett, can we have Nina as the permanent Friday guest host?
Aw, that's
she
so
makes
sweet.
Mary happy and their banter is informed and entertaining. Have a great weekend.
As
sweet.
long as we can make not every episode a For the Girls episode, because I was a little bit lost
okay.
in some of the stuff today.
That can be
like I
adjusted.
felt like I was in like a quilting circle.
We've got some male guests lined up for the future, the near future, so I would get excited for that. But yeah, we all love Nina here.
Thank you.
I felt like when we were talking about that stuff, I felt like I was at a nail salon or a hair salon with you guys, like talking like
You've
the
been emasculated.
like well no like doing like because it was like the gossip stuff. It's like I was like with you guys, like I'm reading the magazine, you're in the chair next to me, you're reading the magazine, and we're talking about something,
We're soying you.
kind of a little bit.
Feeding you some
I'm gonna have to go eat
soy
steak.
as
We're
we
gonna have to go
speak.
eat
Yeah, some
steak
soy
when we're done
milk,
here.
yeah.
We're gonna have to go eat steak when we're done.
Dragon 1001 said, sorry, Brett, but if a guy is married to a woman where she is more than 3 years older than he is, then he is probably a beta cuck, misspelled for YouTube censors, or male feminist. That is not the normal throughout history.
The hyphening of the names says you're probably right. The producing 2 kids in 2 years says that he's clearly
So he has produced children.
Yes.
So that's another factor.
So he has sex drive of some sort.
I mean, let's be real. That was probably IVF.
it had to
know,
have been.
like, that's-
physiologically like.
It's
yeah.
also funny to think like maybe he is like completely asexual. They got it done right. Like, have you ever seen like I don't know if they did this in the Americans, but it's like Russian spy couple comes to America. They have to be husband and wife, but they're not even attracted to each other. But they have to have sex so that they can have kids and blend into American culture. And then they stop having sex as soon as they have the kids because they finished that mission. It's like he got the kids he needed, and then he went flaccid.
It's like being a beard, you know.
Yeah,
it's like that.
well, so he's her beard or she's his beard.
Maybe this is like, I don't know, a business relationship. Maybe
Well, like,
she's helped him in his career. He's maybe either something, I don't know what, and she's, this director. I don't know how much accolades she has, or I mean, obviously she has some pull in Hollywood, and his career
She's got a career. Like she's not like a huge name director, but she's definitely working consistently.
So
but like it's also kind of interesting to me because when I think of it, I do think of the person. Like you guys instantly went to that she should have been more attractive.
Yeah.
My mind instantly went the other way. Like why would he settle for someone older if it wasn't for love, no matter what?
I mean, I think it would just be a consolation if she looked a little better. Like, think of the ladies that they put on MILF Manor and stuff. Like, they obviously like take care of themselves more.
You see more attractive women at a Whole Foods in like a random city in America than this woman who's wealthy. She probably has tens of millions of dollars.
She swept him off his feet with her amazing. I don't even know what it'd be with her
huge
feminine.
teeth?
With
I
her,
don't know.
with her feminine energy. I guess
He should have
Like,
gone for Ann Coulter. Like
Yeah,
Ann
Megyn
Coulter
Kelly.
is the hot version
Megyn
of
Kelly.
that woman,
Megyn Kelly's
Or
like
Megyn
the same
Kelly.
Age.
Yeah,
It's like the same age. They could
or one of like the Real Housewives.
Any of the Real Housewives, for sure.
who of the Real Housewives? I don't like.
Do you
Erica
remember when we
Jane?
talked about Kelly Dodd? She's from the OC one.
Okay.
We talked about Kelly Dodd because she has been like.
Is Brandy Glanville a Real Housewife?
Yes.
I'm a guy. I don't know this.
Yes,
Like, Brandy
she
Glanville's
was,
a Real
yeah.
Housewife. Okay. Like go for Brandy Glanville. Go for
Yes.
who's the one that we were just talking about who threw away her Balenciaga?
Oh yeah, Brittany Aldean.
Brittany Aldean. She's smoking hot still. So like
A smoke show, if you will.
I think she's pretty young. I think she's probably.
By the way,
she's probably his age.
You have a celebrity doppelganger. I didn't like connect
Do
the
I?
dots, but
Who?
have you been told any like that you know of?
There was this one girl named Dottie who's like a singer or something.
Oh,
random. Dodie. And then I've gotten Penelope Cruz.
There's some Penelope Cruz.
You look
there,
like the girl that played Yennefer on The Witcher, but like after she became beautiful.
Ah, yes.
I don't know what that is. I need to Google it. So
I don't know what her name is, but that actress, you look like her like after she,
interesting. Okay, what's the
went through her
actress's
transformation.
Anya Sharata.
Yeah, the picture it shows on Wikipedia isn't. She looks like you when she's in character.
Okay.
People look very different in character as opposed
versus
to
out.
Yeah, you definitely look like her. I just realized.
Thank you. I mean, she does look pretty after her. I guess what is that? I don't even know what that show is.
It has Henry Cavill. She's like a witch on there, and she.
Did you end up liking it? Did you finish it?
I was not impressed. I mean, I found it underwhelming it's just not my taste, and also the prose is like kind of beyond me. I don't like shows that have that high prose because it's hard for me to follow, and then I'm just not super into fantasy in general. I like more like psychological drama.
It's funny too because like when like I still remember Game of Thrones, like I kind of checked out right away when Sean Bean dies. Like it's that's the just not the lingo for me. We suffered through, maybe we got our muscling up to suffer through stuff because we sat through Rings of Power.
Mm-hmm. That was like an extreme example.
But even that wasn't that bad right off the bat. Like it didn't get bad till episode 3. Like when it started to really go downhill, or like you're still kind of like, oh, we'll give it a chance. Maybe it'll get better. It definitely did not get better. It did not get better.
AS said, do a biopic on Nikocado Avocado. Also, please stop saying the word vibe. I won't stop saying the word vibe. But that would be an interesting one.
I'm here for that because he was like adopted. Like he actually he used to be a professional violin player in New York City.
Yes.
He was vegan. He lived in like South America.
I
with
followed
his
him when he was vegan. Because I was on like the vegan YouTube pipeline.
Wow.
The vegan YouTube pipeline.
So you're like an OG Nikocado fan or
back when
viewer?
He like actually was vegan. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wait, what?
Go ahead.
What were you gonna say?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I say like I have no idea who that is.
Oh, he's like this mukbang YouTuber that kind of like has gone off the rails. I don't know how to explain it.
Oh, Vibe. Oh, that's to say, Vibe is such like it's such a your age, your generation, but it's one that I picked up in my favorites. Like there's a guy who every time I would say let's go, he would say that's cringe in the comments. He'd go to every single video to say that, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the hard work of going in to kind of trash me like on every video.
The dedication of the
like
haters.
it's like well, I'm like for me when I don't like something, I just kind of make fun of them to myself. And then just go on about my day. So I can appreciate somebody who's like takes the time to hate me in every video. I don't like it. It still hurts inside.
You're very metered and nice. I don't know how someone would hate you.
I mean, some people are just not nice. Some people are just not
picked
kind.
a random target.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, we are very close to a second crisis party. I want a second crisis party.
Let's go. I think we already made it.
See, like that's let's go. Then I say that now they're gonna comment. He's gonna appear in this comment section.
The crisis party is such a vibe.
Yeah, the crisis party is such a vibe. But they don't like that. But the thing is that was just a big thing here at one point, and you can't always make language go away. Like just because you start with something, you can't make it go away.
Corn Pop sent us a little popcorn emoji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Corn Pop under a different name? We don't get a lot from Corn Pop these days.
He just really likes spamming the chat with things like messages that don't make sense.
I love it.
Like the eye emojis and the question marks.
I also love that in the chat they're literally having their own discussion
all the time. Like it's completely unrelated.
Like sometimes I'll reference the chat and they'll be like, "Leave us alone."
Yeah,
like
stop
busy.
looking.
We're busy here. Like, why are you bothering
Excuse
us?
me.
Like, I kind of love it.
Porco Rosso Forever said, if you search Illuminati on Chrome YouTube, the first results are multiple ads that say join the Illuminati and link to websites. How many super chats for Brett and Mary to join?
Dude.
I think they would want you. Isn't it males only?
Yeah.
The Freemasons?
Sexist. Very sexist, guys.
So sexist. Where are the feminist Illuminati
eventually,
chapters?
someday we'll get like the all-female Illuminati movie. Like we'll get the Ghostbusters 2016 Illuminati movie starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Emily Blunt and who else? Keke Palmer will be in it.
Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah. Oh, I listed good actors. Like at first I was trying to list good actors, not necessarily. So then we'll have to get like. Kate Hudson's good. We
We need
get a
someone
couple.
fat.
Kiki is Kiki Palmer?
She's pregnant.
She's pregnant. Okay.
She's pregnant.
Who we could get? Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy.
Totally.
You could just get her in there.
Florence Pugh, since she won't lose weight for any roles.
Yeah, she's like, I will not lose. Like, well, which has nothing to do. She had a thing where like she got criticized for wearing like a sheer blouse to an
But
event.
then she went all like 2020
Yeah.
free the nipple about it, and I was like, okay, it's not that deep.
It's not that deep, no. No one
There-
cares about nipples anymore.
In the chat, he said, "Bust a cap." Says we are solving crisis around the world. Important stuff in the chat here, Brett. Unlike your silly pop culture show,
Top secret.
It's very top secret. But actually, what it is we are just secretly providing you the space to solve all those problems. That's where the crisis in pop culture crisis comes from. It's not from us. It's from you guys. We love you guys solving
Right.
these problems.
Mike Bullen said, Mary and Xernue have the vibe.
See that you can't get away from vibe. There it is. It's back. It's do you say anything else? Like what are your other go-to phrases, do you think?
I don't know. I'm not
sure
the
there
one
are.
to know. 'Cause
Everyone's got them. They just don't always realize
You
it.
just, yeah, they're just so like
Do you
part
know,
of the vernacular.
Brett? We talk for literally
Hours
hours a
every
week.
day.
Yeah,
Like,
you should know each other like very, very
But
well.
yeah, but I'm just wondering if people are conscious of it. Like, because even like I don't feel like I say "let's go" all that
only
much.
on the show.
Only on the show. Well, 'cause
Thank
it's-
you.
Carter.
Wow.
Low bois. Well, medium bois. Medium bois.
It's mid-bois.
Mid bois.
Not Ellen Rogers said, my mom gave birth to my brother at 36 without IVF or complications. Does the bitterness here stem from a failure to produce children of your own?
I mean, 36 and 42 is a big
That's
difference.
Big difference.
36
Big,
and
big
45 is an astronomical difference.
Astronomical.
I absolutely applaud any woman who has a child naturally at an age like above 35, because it's a difficult thing to do, and I'm not bitter about it at all. I'm just saying, like, there's no way that you're getting naturally pregnant at 45 unless you are a like complete statistical anomaly,
And you're very healthy.
Like,
Well, that's. I mean, that could be. Like, she could be a very healthy eater. Like you're judging it
Look
based
at her.
on pictures. I don't know. Like she could have been. I also looked. I looked on her IMDb. Sometimes they'll list that they had children, and then they'll say with the help of this, because it'll be public knowledge. I did not see that.
I
on
don't
there.
think she's that relevant where it's like, it's not like the Kardashians or something who are very public about you doing
Yeah.
it, having a surrogate or whatever process they use.
We talk about that all the time. The surrogacy thing in Hollywood, and like they want to have kids, but not actually.
it's incredibly creepy that it's just the default state for them
I
for
hate
having
all that.
children.
I'm not a fan of it. But anyway,
On the same subject of like celebrities getting made fun of for their looks, I just saw this tweet earlier talking about Anya Taylor-Joy, and they were like, it's so hard to believe in the menu when she's like playing this character that's from the Midwest, like not with that bone structure or whatever. And I was just like, okay, first of all, you're acting like a phrenologist, but also like, why are these people so hateful toward like the flyover states,
Yeah.
so-called?
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
I love
why do
the-
they hate Middle America
They do.
so much?
Because they've
what
never
did
been
they
there.
ever do?
exactly.
You know?
They watched hundreds of movies in which people from the Midwest are portrayed as bumbling idiots who hate gay people.
Yeah,
and who
exactly.
don't
I mean,
like-
that's the South too,
That's
right?
yeah, but the other thing is, like, I love that stuff. For instance, the example I always give is the reason I love the movie "The World Is Not Enough" is because Denise Richards plays the world's least believable nuclear physicist, because it's Denise Richards, and you're like, I would love to go to the place where that's what the nuclear physicists
Yeah.
look like. Sign me up for those scientists. Or have you ever seen the memes about like there's like a male porn star named Johnny Sins, and they always feel like he went to the moon and he's a doctor and he's a cop, and he's like it's like the idea that actors can be anything, and he's like this really good looking dude who's been, he's like a porn star, but they pretend like he's been a cop, and they put his picture.
No, I think you're misunderstanding. I think it's because of the scenes he's done. It's because the scenes.
No, I get. I
am
get,
I
I get that,
maybe I'm
but
not
like,
getting
but like with actors, it's something. It's like they're all going to be generally good looking. Like at least back
That's why
then.
there are so many celebrity lookalikes.
Yes.
It's like,
exactly, because the way they look, they have the
have
bone
the look.
structure that is
And
attractive.
It's why I
right?
don't like it when they make superheroes ugly, because a superhero is supposed to be the epitome of humanity. That's
Yeah.
what you want everyone to look like. The guys want to be James Bond, the girls want to be with James Bond, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
You don't think he's hot enough to play James Bond, and he is toxic masculinity.
It's not even just hotness, but it's something intangible that he doesn't
exactly.
Well, I mean, that it factor. I mean, it's like, what is it? The golden ratio, meaning they have perfectly like level bone structure.
not even looks. Not even.
Oh,
looks.
you mean just like literally the it factor.
Yeah, like an it factor that you just can't.
Yeah.
And there's different
define.
kinds. That's another thing too. There's different kinds of energy that are attractive in different ways, and that's why people get typecast as a certain thing, because they have a certain energy that we understand and can recognize.
They will study Pete Davidson's girl pulling game for years.
His riz.
It's actually very understandable if you get into it. It's because he is borderline personality disorder, and he gets hot women because, like we were talking about earlier with Megan Fox and Emily Ratajkowski, they think that they need to be recognized for their brains.
Yeah.
And what he does is he pulls into, oh, I see you
love
for more.
bombing.
It's love bombing, and I see you. You're not just beautiful. You're this. You're this. You're this. And he pulls on that.
But he's not even that good at pretending to be that. He tattoos faces. He's clearly confrontational with people. Like I don't know if I buy
But
that.
with women, I don't know.
I guess with the way, he was being confrontational to Kanye West there. He wasn't being confrontational towards the women. Also, like, didn't she's already left him and she's with Eric Andre.
She's with the Seagram heir. Like the inheritor of the Seagram wealth, that water company.
She will always like it's also like I joke a lot about the wall, but like a woman like Emily Ratajkowski will always land on her feet. She will.
Yeah.
Like it's the ones who haven't reached that level of fame before that age that have to worry about stuff like that.
Or people who just aren't that. I mean, like if you're not that attractive, like even if you're at your peak and you're not that attractive, like it's unless you get plastic surgery, like it's just gonna go down.
That is something I wanted to ask you about. Like, do you think that's going to change the way like the male female dynamic is? Because we talked a lot about look. Women are cherished for their beauty and the ability to provide children. Beauty at an early age fades as you get older. For men, you start out undesirable, poor, broke, and in a lot of times you grow into your face. Like look at those pictures. You could say Aaron Taylor Johnson isn't handsome enough to be James Bond now, but he's grown into his face more than he looked when he was 17 or 18, right? So, as women now are able to artificially change what they look like, is that going to change the way we view male-female dynamics online? Because the pregnancy thing can't change. You cannot change whether someone's able to give you kids to a later age without things like IVF. And then you get into the idea is, will the guy want to have kids through surrogacy, things like that. That will all change. But the ability to artificially change what a woman looks like is going to probably on some level change the relationship between men and women for a certain class that can afford it.
I think the difference is I think natural beauty will always be first.
Yeah.
I think that will always be the top. But in terms of the middle, there's a lot more room where you can wiggle up based on the plastic surgery. So I think plastic surgery is becoming more normalized. Most people with an very average wage can afford a rhinoplasty, whatever filler, whatever they need to do. And it does. It will bump you up. And I don't know how men perceive it because men are different. Some men say, "Oh, I would never date a girl who had plastic surgery."
I always think that they're like, it's like that's weird guy virtue signaling.
Yeah,
they definitely would.
Like when guys tell me like it's kind of like what Dane will talk about with AOC or with Brie Larson, and they're lying when they say they wouldn't be with this person. They're lying.
They're lying.
At the very least, maybe they wouldn't date them because they don't like them as a person. But if you're telling me that you wouldn't do Brie Larson, I don't.
At the end of the day, you wouldn't date Brie Larson because Brie Larson wouldn't
date you.
Like, that's
true. That's not the point here. The point is like if
annoying.
if
like,
the opportunity
we can talk about
was
that.
there, like would they? They're like, oh, I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. I'm like, yes, you would. You might not like her, you might not date her, but male sexual biological drive is not the same thing as liking a person. We've all seen that proven 100 times.
I just don't think that plastic surgery is that effective. Like, it's botched so easily and so frequently.
Yeah. Especially
that
at the lower price
range.
range.
It very quickly if someone overdoes it even slightly. Like, if
And
one thing goes wrong.
And that's the difference is when people have it done well, you don't know. You can't tell if someone has had a nose job unless you knew them before.
It's like
if
CGI.
It's like with anything. If it's done right, you don't notice it.
Yep. The best CGI is the CGI you don't notice.
Yeah.
Meaning like somebody was explaining to me this thing really good like this one time where they did a scene where they had to film in a lot, which would normally have been filmed out on a street. Meaning like usually this program that I was watching, they preferred to do stuff on location, right? They don't like to use backlots because if you watch enough TV, like streets that are done in a studio are the fakest looking thing in the world. I mean, like you'll see like in old episodes. Did you ever watch Bones?
No.
Like they have these backlot scenes where it's like there's like steam coming up from the grates. It's not real. It's not a real street.
The roads are always slicked.
Yes, there's always water. And then
Yeah.
like the CSI shows used to do that. When they would have to go on location, they would shower the street with water because it's a visual cue to go from one to the other. But they would, in this street scene where they had to do it, they had to put CGI stars in the background. And the most impressive thing about it was they put CGI breath that you couldn't tell was fake, and they put stars in the background that you didn't realize weren't there. That's the simple stuff. That's not what you think of when you think of CGI. You think of galaxies being created for
You think of
Ant-Man
Ant-Man,
Quantumania.
Quantumania.
You don't think of just adding an effect here or there, adding layers to something. So like plastic surgery, the best is the stuff that you don't actually notice is there.
Yeah.
Waffle Sensei said, crisis parties are such a vibe. They bussin' for real. No cap. It's such a snack.
I've never said any of those
Such a
phrases,
snack.
not ironically. I don't think I've ever used bussin'. Like, I feel like
sure
if a
you
guy
have.
says, but no, if a guy says bussin', his hair needs to curl and immediately
My
go
hair
into,
just
like,
starts to automatically perm.
Yeah,
itself.
it perms and you get like the undercut that
You
should
put
never.
you just have AirPods all of a
Dude.
sudden.
I'm sorry,
Some
but like,
Jordans.
there needs to be a study done to understand how people with curly hair fell into the fade. It doesn't, like, I still remember a video from like 2012 where a dude he goes, you look like a chia pet. It was a guy with curly hair. He goes, I can't do this haircut because I look like a chia pet.
The Durag and like waves meme that
Yeah.
like people put on like Trump and everybody.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. I want that to make a comeback. It was hilarious. Caper2X said, thank you. Thank you guys. Anyway, Caper2X said, love you, Brett. Bring back Nina.
Aww,
There we go.
You're being so
Yes.
nice to me.
And Corey Anderson said Nina looks like Amy Winehouse.
Before
That's true.
Actually,
That's
before
funny.
we move on, I'm gonna find it. There's an actress that I'm gonna show you that looks like her.
Another one?
Yeah,
Oh,
that
wow.
looks like.
I still think the girl that played Yennefer was
That's an interesting. Again, I actually
close.
really never get people I look like, so it's like interesting hearing that. 'Cause it's like how are people perceive you? It's like, oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm gonna see if I can find this one. There
and
was-
Corn Pop. I'm not reading that.
Of course not.
Airtes thank you for the big super chat. He said, I think that's why VTubers have become popular. All of the anonymity and no need to let anyone know who you are. On another note, I hate the fact that at first I ironically started saying vibe or sheesh, and now it won't stop.
You can't stop it once you start.
This was the lady I thought looked like Amy Winehouse, Tanya Raymond.
Tanya Raymond.
Let me hold on. I'm gonna.
Show her on the screen. Oh yeah, she does. Yeah.
Who
It
is?
doesn't-
Wait, what's her name?
Well,
Tanya Raymond?
Amy Winehouse does look like Nina, but Nina doesn't look like that actress.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I thought she looked like her at least the first time I saw her. Tanya Raymond. She's
Yeah.
she's one of those actresses. It was like these photos, like when she's on like a red carpet, that I thought that she looked like her. Just
Yeah.
me.
Bobcat said, "Don't believe the conspiracy theories. This show is pre-taped."
Wouldn't that be interesting? Like I'm actually responding to the chat.
I mean,
we're
we
using
could-
We're in
AI.
the future.
Like
We
can
could
time
pretend
travel.
if we wanted to, right?
like somehow we will figure out how to do that. Like it would take the anxiety away. It would be a lot easier to not have
well,
to.
we used to do pre-recorded shows, but then
Yeah.
found that like going live was really good for the channel. So
I think live's better.
it's
more interactive.
It is definitely more interactive. Like it's harder because like if you want to pay attention to the chat and see the way the conversation is going, you definitely are going to have your takes critiqued by people from time to time. You got to be okay with that. Luckily, like our chat is pretty like even when they disagree with you, they're disagreeing with you in a very cordial way. Like
Nice
this is not the
people.
most this is a very not toxic environment. So for you guys, chat, thank you so much for that. We appreciate that.
Biddy Beasley said Claire Bronfram, heir to the Seagram's empire, got caught up in I don't know.
The cult.
What is it?
Nick's what's I
The Nick XM or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, that was like trafficking, branding women. The chick,
Oh.
the girl from
Yeah.
Smallville or whatever.
Yeah.
And then now Imrata is dating her brother. Wow.
Weird.
All of these celebrities are
they're all connected.
Yeah.
You gotta get Charlie
Entangled
Day. You gotta get
somehow.
the meme like with the cigarette and the meme.
Yeah. Rhaegar Targaryen said, "What What do you know about Castlevania on Netflix, Brett? I hear there is a rumor of a new spin-off as well. Also just saw Shin Ultraman. It was awesome.
I didn't watch it. I know that it is possibly the most highly regarded of the Netflix animation series, and proof that you can make adaptions of video games well. I know Arcane is loved too, but those are the ones that are considered to be amongst the most highly regarded of them. Castlevania was more kind of my brother's bag as far as Castlevania and Mega Man. I got into video games a little bit later. On my brother's original NES, I was playing more like Blades of Steel. I did play some Castlevania. I did play Ninja Gaiden and stuff like that. But in general, I was pretty young at that time. So those subcultures, guys, like people like a lot of times, like they want your take on these subcultures. Like they'll ask, like, what do you think about Power Rangers? What do you think about Pokemon? These are things that have like massive followings, their own lore, and people that love it. Like I don't want to comment on stuff that I'm not 100% invested in. So it's we're gonna watch The Last of Us. We're gonna move on, but yeah, I didn't watch Castlevania. Perhaps I will check it out. I know that show's very highly regarded.
Dragon Stalin 1001 said, Brett, man sues wife after she gives him ugly baby. New York Post, when he picked his wife after she had plastic surgery. I'd not seen that.
That's really interesting. He's like, false advertising, lady.
You can't say that about your own baby.
That's cool.
You're supposed to think that your own baby is cute no matter what.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's another part of like cynical social media that I hate. Like I really do. Like I was trying to think of it. Like I started keeping a list for a while of like all the things that annoy me. And then I deleted it because I realized it was just like, it's one thing to let it come by every once in a while and be annoyed. It's another thing to categorize, collate, and keep a list. But one of the things that I hate is this, that someone's like, can we stop pretending that all babies are adorable? I'm like, even if you think that's true, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's
like,
a baby. Like, you're going to bully a baby?
Like, why do you, why would you need to put that out there? It's like, I hate the cynicism for the sake of cynicism. It's just, I can't do it.
Yeah. Mr. X said, bring Nina on again. Love her vibe.
Well, we every time
we all do.
No, we will be writing this down. We will put it in the notebook when we're keeping our list of guests.
Yeah, we're already like doing repeat guests because, you know, it's a cool collaboration to have with people. High Voltage 75 said, live show def more a vibe than pre-taped.
Well, also we didn't have like full video of the pre-taped show. What we did is when we're done with these episodes, we cut the segments up and release them. Back then, we would just record it as a full show, cut the segments up, and release them. There was no full-length video of the pre-taped version, just the audio version. So if people wanted to listen, but I definitely have like there's more anxiety, but it's a hell of a lot more fun to do the live version.
I think it's better.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Because if you watch it back, you might want to like stop. You might be like, I need to get that out of there. It's better if it's live. You can't censor anything.
Oh, well, yeah. There's a certain amount of that's out there now. There's nothing I can like. I still have I have a lot of like
fatalism. Dude.
I have a lot of like weird fears. Like for instance. I do worry that one day I'm just going to say something awful for no reason, like you're
just going to blurt out a slur.
Yeah,
like Tourette's. You're going to develop Tourette's all of a sudden.
Yeah, but like one of mine is the chat will love this. Like I still imagine that one day I'm going to walk into the IRL studio while they're in the middle of an episode.
Haven't you had a nightmare about this?
Yes, like I'm going to go because there's there's a refrigerator in there with stuff. Like I'm going to walk in there, not looking at my phone to go get something from the fridge. And I'm going to like get something from the fridge and I'm going to look over and everyone in their seats at IRL is going to turn and look at me.
I mean, it's not even realistic because
it's completely
as soon as
unrealistic.
You open the door, if that happened, you would realize that they're live, right? And you would just walk away.
Yeah,
but
that's an ongoing fear that I have.
mean, maybe you should just do it and get over your fear.
Just do it and get it over with. Like, what's the worst thing that happens?
Just walk in tonight and grab something from the fridge and walk out like nothing ever happened. They can't do anything about it.
I've gotten that look from Tim before, so like it's possible. Like when I like hit the ceiling, we were okay. I will tell this story. We were playing we were skating and playing basketball down in the mini ramp, and if you guys have watched the vlog or anything like that, the ceiling lights there have like wires protecting them so that stuff. It used to be a batting cage down there, I guess, when the previous owners were down there, and he told this story about how like somebody like hit one of the lights. So you don't want to do that because it could make the light shatter because the bulb shatter and then they have to clean it up all off the ramp. And literally the next thing that I did was throw the ball and hit one of the lights. And the look he gave me was exactly the look I deserved to get because it was such a stupid thing to do. But it was like absolutely like, good one, Brett.
Nice going.
Very, very good.
Smooth move. Yep. Not Alan Rogers said stop watching anime. You don't need to tell us. We don't watch anime.
Yeah, we agree with you.
Caper2X said latest, Ezra Miller got a fine and probation.
No jail time for the Kid Diddler.
We'll need to save that for Monday.
Accused Kid Diddler or alleged Kid Diddler.
Yes.
Alleged child creeper, Ezra Miller. It's funny too because I recently
just a menace.
I started rewatching I rewatched Royal Pains recently, and he's in those first few episodes. He's so young. He's like a teenager in that one, and he just looks like such a
bright-eyed,
charming, bright-eyed. I like the cut of his jib. He looked like he was going places in life. Little did you know he was going to grow his hair out, do the weird thing with his fingers, and become a weirdo.
He's like doing this. Like, stop. Like, you're not cool.
Like, you don't. Yeah, he's like he's like. It'd be cooler if he just did like West Side Connection. Like
he's literally the person who is like, I wear eyeshadow, so I'm non-binary.
Yeah,
I'm not normal,
and I don't want to be normal. He's literally like that Riverdale scene. Terrence Rice said vibe. Rhaegar Targaryen said, never mind, not Alan Rogers, watch all the anime.
Yep.
I don't know. We've got a big split in the audience. People who like anime, people who don't.
And now it feels like
some people want us to review
the
anime.
video, the cringe video where the guy's like, "Do you watch Marvel movies?" We talked about this the other day.
He's like, "Do you like Marvel movies?" And she's like, "I don't know. Like, I'm just not really into anime, but like, I'll look into it."
He's like, "It's not anime. It's not anime.
It's superheroes, and they just like go around the world like saving people. You can't like Marvel."
But here's the thing. I feel for that guy because here's the thing. This guy was being set up. Like that guy's being set up. Is it dorky? Yes, but I love that people have stuff that they love.
You're on a dating show. Of course, you're being set up.
You're allowed to love stuff, even if Caper2X and the rest of the Marvel fanboys is a little bit culty for me. You're allowed to love the stuff you love.
I have a passionate opinion about this. Okay, as a woman, we have our interests, right? Mm-hmm. Like Mary and I, we like getting our nails done. We could probably talk to each other about getting our nails done. We have like getting our hair, whatever. We have these topics. We're into fashion. When we go on a date with a man, we don't open talking about our interests that we know that the man will not care about. Right? Yeah. But men expect us to be interested, like maybe after you start dating, but not on like a first date.
But that is because Disney has spent the last 10 years marketing Marvel to women, not to men. So
but it's still not working.
It's not. I mean, they're trying and failing. But I'm saying he probably feels, judging by online content and the way things are marketed, that it's actually more interesting to women than it is.
Because he's not interacting. The whole, like, you can't not like blank.
That is dorky. That is,
or you can't like blank thing. Like, let me be me and like what I like. Okay, I hate that verbiage. High Voltage 75 said, because of PCC, I have a bad case of vibes.
I don't even want to know what that is, but it sounds venereal.
Just don't send any pictures, please. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, I've always enjoyed the show, but live PCC over pre-recorded PCC because we can create hostage crises. That's kind of what's going on right now. We're in a bit of a hostage crisis.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more there. It's catching up. We're
okay.
Yes, a hostage crisis is when they keep us here by virtue of Superchats. They're literally.
I think we might have just reached 4.
They're literally not quite.
We're not quite at 4 crisis.
I'm going to donate
if
I have to. I'm not allowing it to end at like.
You can't do that. That's cheating.
I once heard the most profound thing that someone ever said to me. This is where my brain is kind of like HRH. Somebody's like, an orgasm can never come too late.
Jeez.
Like that's.
I don't want you to liken the crisis party to that.
They're also talking about how I'm cringe and how they missed Brett cringe. I'm very cringy. That's okay. That's okay. There's one more there, but yes. I'm hoping that somebody actually puts us over for 4.
Air Tez 00 said, watch anime, don't watch anime, have a good day. That's what I'm saying. Like, do your own thing. But thank you for the big super chat again.
Thank you. Live and let live. Live and let live. That is what it's all about.
We got the libertarian vibes happening.
Mary makes fun of me for my like. I'm never going to be so dorky as to be like a big L libertarian registered party or anything like that. But I'm the quintessential like not on my just get off my lawn and just as long as you're not hurting other people, leave. I don't care. Like I don't care.
But I'm like.
Authoritarian
PCC is
Mary.
CCP backwards.
Yes. I'm like, I want the gay people to be able to grow weed on their
Holding
farm with,
guns.
holding
With
guns.
their lesbian sister.
I'm literally
Come
that. I'm
on.
literally that person, and Mary's like, oh my god, that's so
Generational
cringy.
differences.
It
happening.
definitely is.
Yeah.
Well, that just proves that we're going more towards authoritarianism and not towards liberty and freedom. Where's Luke when you need him right now to talk about liberty?
Liberty. 1,000-foot deep end said y'all are in your hostage crisis era. That's one
another
thing I
term.
do say often.
does.
I say like I'm in
Era.
my whatever era.
Yeah.
That is like
That's
outdated
literally just a
lingo.
millennial version of I'm going through a phase.
Oh
But
yeah, like
eras-
it's not a phase, mom.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a phase.
It goes in cycles.
Yeah.
Toy News Quarterly said everyone should watch Cowboy Bebop live action. I don't know anything about that.
Before we move on, Brogad, who was the one commenting about me being cringy, says legal immigration, Brett. He's referring to the libertarianism thing. I want to mention I had to go to the post office the other day. I'm sorry, I had to go to the library the other day because I had to get a form notarized, right? And the first book that was on a shelf right as I walked in was a book on open borders written by an anarcho-capitalist so-called economic libertarian. And I just got into this whole thing where I shared the picture because I thought it was funny because the art was horrible. It was supposed to be like kitty art on the front, and I got a huge kick out of it because I took the picture and I had this conversation with the lady at the library. It was exactly the conversation you imagine with like a lady wearing a mask at a library. It was like
she's like double masked.
yeah,
and
like
mousy.
but super nice lady. But like you could just tell if we talked about anything other than exactly. Like, if we talked about anything other than what we were talking about, she would have not liked me very much at all, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If you talk about anything other than the weather.
No, I brought up when we talked about the writer, the lady who wrote the book, who faked her own S word.
Right.
And she's like, and then she tells this other, she's like, I heard a story about a writer who had an affair with another writer's husband. I'm like, that's not really the same thing. But no. I was like,
no.
But I'm like, okay, cool. We bonded over that. But if I had brought up this book, I imagine it would have gone very differently. I'm just saying. There's a couple more there. And then
there are a lot more.
Oh my gosh.
Bobcat said, have any of you listened to any of the Leslie Fish songs?
I don't know who
I've
that
never
is.
heard of this. So no. Shimmy Shelley said, he sent us like a hippo.
A one up?
Thank you. High Voltage 75 said it means I just say vibe too much now. That is all.
It's it does come off like does it feel like all slang has evolved from Valley Girlness now? Like a lot of it's like it's
from
spins
gay
out
men.
of it.
It's from gay men, yeah. It's all the gay culture infiltrating. And
it's
then
gay
also-
men imitating black women.
That's what they say, yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey, you learn something.
Like straight white girls imitating gay men imitating black women, right?
Yeah, that's the
White
That's
people,
most of it.
white people still not creating any culture whatsoever.
Mayo. Grofty said buck, buck, buck. Thank you.
In the chat, Sketch Therapy says BS. That's not ANCAP. That's ANCOM. It's not what it said. Like the writer was it something Kaplan. Like he was not an anarcho-communist. He was an anarcho-capitalist, and he was very much economic libertarian. It was a really I felt like I was having a stroke while I was reading.
These things just shouldn't exist. Like
Yeah.
they're just unnecessary.
But it was just really funny because I felt like I was reading the guy's IMDb, or I'm sorry, his IMDb, his Wikipedia, and his other books are like the reason why it's a good idea to have tons of kids and all of these other very traditional values, and then open borders, and I'm like, I feel like I'm having a stroke right now. It was very interesting.
I think I misgendered somebody in chat.
Who?
I apologize, Shimmy Shelley. I'll go by they, them only now. Austin Lanklos said, tried anime, not into it. Yeah, agree.
Also, did we get the Grofties buck? Did we?
Yeah.
We did. Okay. Just making
Martin
sure.
Santiago said, 3rd Infantry as always.
Thank you, Martin.
Mitch Stew said, please look at the Hogwarts Legacy Steam discussion page. Pretty please.
Dude.
Yeah, we talked about
Dude.
Hogwarts Legacy a little bit a couple weeks ago, but if there's more happening with it, we definitely will cover on Monday's show.
The Hogwarts Legacy stuff is it's all, when it comes down to it, it just becomes about authoritarians telling you that you can't be a TERF, and then telling you that you can't buy this game because a lady that you, the normie, didn't know was a TERF, was kind of involved in the making of it because she created the characters. It's that, and when I see that and I see the limited run game stuff about the community manager who got fired because she followed like libs of TikTok on social media, I'm just like, can you imagine working for these companies? Like, think about this podcast, like outside of that like little mini discussion I just had about ANCAP and ANCOM, I feel like you could listen to this podcast, be of any political persuasion. Maybe you disagree with the takes, but I didn't find it inherently political. But like, you wouldn't be able to have these discussions at most of these companies because they all think exactly like that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to be there because of who you follow on social media. Nobody here at this company gives a crap who we follow on social media, and because they understand that we're individuals.
It's weird because these are not mainstream issues that people care about. Like, literally no normie that you encounter in public knows anything about J.K. Rowling's opinions on feminism and
they know
gender. Like, nobody knows or cares.
They know that they go to Universal Studios and get a butterbeer, and
Right.
they're like
they like pog face at butterbeer.
Yeah.
There might be like a Gen Zer who kind of makes fun of her sister for being really into Harry Potter because she doesn't get it or something like that. Or has that transcended the age gap? Is Harry Potter equally as important to Gen Z?
A specific subgroup.
Love it.
I remember when I was in school, there were kids who were obsessed with Harry Potter, but they were very specific, and you can definitely point them out in a crowd.
I mean, there were more that liked all the Percy Jackson stuff from my memory, and like Divergent and all of those.
That was very like when I was in like 5th and 6th grade. That was when those were really like big. 4th, 5th, 6th grade, the Percy Jackson and the Hunger Games was popular too.
That stuff will never, like, you know how we talk a lot about how like sci-fi, Star Wars, Star Trek, they've all been infiltrated by people that care more about culture war than actual entertainment. You will never get Divergent or anything like that. That is the most infiltrated of all of them. Any YA stuff. Way worse even than Star Wars and Star Trek.
Caper2X said, make mine Marvel. Have a great weekend, peeps.
Thank you.
You too.
It's also why I'm glad we got the 100 when we did, because that was like my guilty pleasure show. I loathe to use the term guilty pleasure.
The 100 was definitely a good show
Paige
for
Turco,
a season or two.
The first two seasons were really good. And Paige Turco is like she was like the original, she played the second April O'Neil in the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. They recasted her in the second one and then got the original actress back for the third one. It was a trip, but she's a great actress. And that show is like, it's all the guys, like, that's a genre right there. Everybody's obscenely good looking. There are no ugly people on CW shows. Nor should they be, because you don't tune into a CW show to look at ugly people.
And compare that to this gender fluid girl that's on The Last of Us.
You look at Felicity Smoke on Arrow. She's like, she's a computer geek. I'm like, why? Because she's got glasses on?
Yeah.
She's a 12. She's not even a 10. She's like a 15. Just good because you give her, like, she's all that all over
Glasses
again.
and a
Glasses and a
ponytail.
ponytail doesn't make you a nerd. You're still a smoke show. You're just a smoke show wearing glasses.
I know you have a personal beef with wearing fake glasses.
I do.
Ever since I did it.
No, long before. Like,
we need to normalize that, because I don't need glasses, but
See?
there might be an outfit where it would look cute to wear glasses.
Would
It's
you
a
wear a
necessity.
fake hearing aid if it
was cute?
Oh, well,
If it was cute.
Ladies
If it were
and gentlemen,
trendy.
at least they're honest about it. It is.
Would you
what it
use
is.
a wheelchair?
Well, yeah, would you wear a
trend?
fashion wheelchair? Would you ride a fashion down the red carpet?
I would be canceled for it. Absolutely.
That's something that
Hell
a
yeah.
comedian could do. That would be kind of funny to see if he could get away with. Like, make a social commentary on that.
That's like the end punchline that you just get up.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, thanks everyone.
No, there's that one. Have you ever seen that video? It says like, when the tacos are so good, it creates a miracle. And a guy, he's like in his wheelchair, and then he looks at the taco menu, and it's like at a taco truck, and he squints and just stands up to look at it. Incredible. There's one more. There's a couple more there.
Mark Reyes said, YouTube won't let me send my super chat about watching Vinland Saga. Hopefully this goes through. It did.
Why is it that YouTube is so picky about like what they allow to
They're
be
definitely
super chatty?
shadow banning us because we're exposing the
The-
agenda.
Exactly.
The Illuminati's coming for us. There's going to be a context.
I mean, they kind of are. We're
Yeah.
getting context notices and like limited ad suitability on so much stuff.
Yeah, like,
So weird.
I still don't know why.
We are the victims.
Like when I see that, I'm like, well, the best way to make people think nothing's going on wouldn't be to like add context warnings where nothing is actually being talked about.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of exposing yourselves here.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, Brett, I apologize for using era. I knew it would bug you, LOL. And
Fair enough.
Mary, I think you've misgendered me 100% of the time, but I don't mind. It's funny. I do know in the back of my head that you are female, 1,000 Foot Deep End, because you've mentioned it, but I apologize for misgendering you.
Yes.
Seth Essington said, Mary, do you still have the adorable cat that's on your Instagram? Unfortunately, she passed away earlier this year, but she's still in my heart. Sketch Therapy said, I meant no disrespect, just saying it's BS logic, not that you're BSing.
Yeah.
Once that freedom is established, neighboring countries will oppose it and infiltrate.
Oh yeah, no, like I was just kind of quoting what he said in the book, and I went down the weird rabbit hole of like, why do people like this have Wikipedia pages? I was like, why do these people have Wikipedia pages? It was just an interesting day to have something like that happen, where it's like I was picturing this lady, like if all I would have had to say is like, this book about open borders, huh? And then just to get this lady to just give me like every MSNBC and like CNN headline, like I'm totally being judgmental right now. Like for all we know, she's like an anarcho-capitalist and like just works at the library because it's a vibe.
Rhaegar Targaryen said, what era would you call this, Mary?
This is our hostage crisis era.
We are in our hostage crisis era. Like we have not gone this late in a while. I think the latest we've gone is like around 6:30 p.m.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, we are getting there. Short Bus Bully said, Brett, did you see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is getting wokeified with the upcoming Mutant Mayhem?
Is that did they add the turtle sister? I know there's a 5th Ninja Turtles now. Look, they can't ruin the picture behind me, the top one there. That's from the original. It's from the original movie. It's like a piece of art that was done in the original movie. It's not the original one, but it's done as if it was from the original movie. I have a deep love of that first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, 1 and 2 especially. 2 is one of those movies where it's kind of misremembered as being better than the original. Like, the rare movie that's better than the original.
Yeah.
It is not better than the original. But I love both of those movies. It's so far before your time that you wouldn't.
Well, what's your favorite power? Which color is your favorite?
Of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
or not?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not Power Rangers.
Oh, I was thinking of Power Rangers.
No, not Power.
Michelangelo. What are the names of the turtles?
Growing up, it was Leonardo, but that's because everyone kind of generally liked Leonardo because he was the leader or whatever. But but you grow into loving like kids love Leonardo, men love Raphael because Raphael's complicated because he's deep. He's deep. He's like, well, no, there's legitimate emotional depth to his character in the first movie that's actually shocking because you're watching a dude in a turtle suit bond with a dude in a rat costume about deep emotional issues.
This is how men deal with their feelings.
Yes.
That needs to be respected.
Literally, you watch a rat console his, there it is.
Thank you.
Yay.
You watch a rat console his son because his turtle son has...
This is so absurd.
My brain is like a monkey hitting cymbals. Like,
you watch a rat console his turtle teenage son, console him about his anger issues because he has deep emotional scarring and anger issues. It shouldn't be deep.
I'm sorry, we're just getting showered with fake money while you talk about how deep and emotional the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is.
Just that one. Look.
Wasn't there one in the 2000s? Wasn't there an early 2000s live action?
There was, they did a CGI heavy one that Michael Bay did.
I think I saw it in the movie.
It's got Megan Fox in it.
Yeah,
she plays April O'Neil. Again, just because you're hot doesn't mean she's a reporter. That's at least believable. Reporters are usually attractive, right?
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Dragon's Talon 1001 said for the 5th crisis party.
Thank
you so much, guys. Quiet Inari said, I don't want this party to end.
That's what we love it. We love it.
Really, we're just getting held hostage.
No,
you're showing that you love Nina's vibe.
Yes,
Aww,
it's a vibe.
You vote with your dollar. High Voltage 75 said, what's your favorite season? Fall's death of vibe.
Fall. Autumn.
Anytime that's like
Summer can
in
kick
between
rocks.
summer and fall or in between winter and spring.
Yeah,
I hate the summer.
I think I would say I like summer, but I would say fall just because like my birthday is in the fall technically, so I'm biased. And like Thanksgiving and just like the holidays and fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, the women just said that, and neither mentioned a pumpkin spice latte.
It's Christian Girl Autumn.
Yeah, we're here. Mary and I are here for Christian Girl Autumn. We're the
Yeah.
representation of Christian Girl Autumn.
I just can't do summer because I overheat. Like, it's like, if I could find it, like, I always make the joke, 55 and cloudy all year round. If I could find that, give it to me.
Well,
I don't
Sunny's
like
fine
clouds.
too, but
I like
55
sunny.
all year round. 55 to 60 all year round.
If we could have winter, but without the early nighttime, like without it getting dark at like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., then I would love winter the most. But
Yeah.
just walking down from this studio every time we end the
It's
show
dark
and it
out.
being completely dark, it just makes me feel like the day is over.
Yeah.
Somebody says Nina's going to have to go to therapy for her crisis party PTSD.
It's like literally Brett is like ranting to you about how deep.
No, it's really like the
Raphael
one
is.
sentence you were talking about with Hogwarts, like that whole, I don't know, paragraph. I was really trying. I was like, none of these words are in the Bible. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like, what's happening?
This
What
is where I become.
There are no crisis parties in the Bible.
This is where I become the HRH person because like my brain starts to go nuts and it goes haywire. It happens. I just don't
1,000
rant
foot-
about cancel culture.
Yes. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, I found it interesting that Josiah Rises didn't get an added context card for his Mel Gibson Rothschild video, and he covered it as if it was legit.
Yeah.
Wow, he did?
Josiah Rises is another one that would be interesting to get on this channel. He's of all the geeks and gamers dudes, he does a lot of the actual celebrity gossip that we cover, so he might be an interesting person to have on here. I'm not sure if he'd want to come out, but that'd be kind of cool.
High Voltage 75 said 5 parties for you, Nina. Are you vibing?
I'm vibing. This is a great time. We got money everywhere. This is it's Nina's Friday night. If you want a drink? That'd be awesome if I had a drink.
Darnell said, I only watch PCC for Brett's love of Ninja Turtles. Go off, King.
Look, it was quintessential to my child. It was very
That and The
important to my-
Wire.
Yeah, like
We'll never get past a show without a recommendation for The Wire or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Which is funny.
Or maybe Person of Interest.
Yes, those are like person of interest. I actually try to mention less because people think it's dorky and most people haven't seen it. The Wire is like one of those things that's cool to like.
Okay.
Because it was culturally relevant.
I
and
liked
important.
Person of Interest more.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose between the two, I would take Person of Interest, but that's personal preference. One more there.
Okay. Mark Reyes said, Vinland Saga is about Vikings that kick ass first and take names never. It's 24 episodes on Netflix, and I imagine it's like The Northman.
Wow, 24 episodes. That can't be one season. There's no way they're doing
Yeah,
that many
that's a
episodes in
lot
one
of
season.
episodes.
See, I missed that. I missed television being 22 to 24 episodes a year because it forced the writers to get creative. Now when they do it, they just go, how do I get creative? Make it about racial politics or something stupid.
I'm so sick of episodes being an hour long. Even
Yeah.
when it's a show I like, it just feels like I'm watching a movie.
Now they're bringing up, Brett will also recommend Tulsa King and Tomb Raider.
Well,
yes, my
actually-
tastes are very simple.
I
ladies and
just
gentlemen.
saw, I think Nerdrotic tweet, like, highly recommend Tulsa King, or like really enjoyed Tulsa King, and I was like, come on, there's no way you actually like that show. It's just Sylvester
you, Mary.
Stallone still acting like he's cool.
He is still cool, dude. Look.
Okay. Okay, I need to.
I'm
I need to
not.
move
I'm
on.
like everyone's allowed their taste. Mary's wrong, but she's allowed to be wrong on this.
Okay. Freedom of thought, right?
Exactly.
Waffle Sensei said, Cowabunga, my dudes. Have a great Friday night. Hope to see you tomorrow, Brett.
Yeah. I mean, I'm. It
No
depends.
guarantees.
No guarantees. If I oversleep, I hopefully not.
Okay, Short Bus Bully said, I can still sing that Pizza Hut ad word for word.
So can I.
I just saw a tweet this morning. I think I sent it to you about like the old cups that Pizza Hut had, the rippled red glass ones.
Somebody found them. They were on like a third. You couldn't even get them from eBay. Like you had to go.
Where are they?
You had to get them from like a Chinese company that can only deliver DHL, and the shipping is like $1 gazillion. Somebody else found them. Like you can find them on eBay used.
Wait,
I
what
don't
does
know if
DHL mean?
DHL is like a delivery
It's
service.
an international like UPS, but it's only for packages from like China or overseas.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
That's why I remember ordering some clothes from a website called like DH Gate. That's what it means.
yeah. That's where I
right?
got my
Okay.
first Switchblade.
Yeah.
I don't have that anymore. I actually don't. That was like I lost that Switchblade in the snow and found it the next summer, and it still worked. It was incredible. So one more.
Minnesota things. Dragon's Talon 1001 said, Nina, can you teach Mary how to return shopping carts?
Okay, I
Thoughts
know
on
this
this?
is a very like, I don't know, serious topic. And the thing is, it's like I know it's like a civilized thing to return shopping carts, and I do it. But I understand the desire to rebel and not return your shopping cart. Like I really understand what the principle is. I just can't get myself to do it. I just feel too much
Guilt?
responsibility and guilt. Yeah, I can't get myself to do it.
So Nina is the more well-adjusted cart-pushing person here.
But she understands
But
me.
I understand it. I just can't get myself to, rebel like that. It's just not my nature.
Hey, that's good. In a world where we kind of we put too much emphasis on Demi Lovato rebelling, maybe we need a little bit less rebellion.
Yeah, there we go. We need some order around here.
And then Halls and the Kid said, heard we're having a hostage party.
Perfect.
Thank you for closing it off.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Guys, before we go, I want to ask you, please, could you hit the like button? Could you subscribe to the channel? Could you leave a comment on this live stream, on this episode? And please go to our Velma review when you're done here. Make
Just
our
posted.
sacrifice worth it. Would you please?
And on that Velma review, comment on that if you want us to review the next 2 episodes that come out next week.
I'm ending the poll, guys, that we put up. So it seems that as if 62% did not said that they did not see it and that they're going to check it out after the show today. So
You better.
62% of 763 votes. I need you guys, as soon as we're done here, go watch the Velma review, watch me lose my mind, or if you don't, when you're done with that, then go watch my Instagram story where I actually lose my mind with my phone in front of me. It's all in good fun, but go watch that review. Me and Mary, we barely keep it together through most of that.
Sometimes.
Nina, thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been amazing. You were both wonderful. Thank you so much for
Where
having
can we find
me.
you on socials?
Okay, so my Twitter and Instagram is Xernue. It's Xernue. And so you can find me there. So thank you guys so much for watching.
Perfect. Mary.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you,
You can
guys.
find pictures of me on Instagram at Mary Archived. We also did an Instagram live stream together right before the show that you can go watch. I put it up right before. And you can follow me on Twitter as well. That's Mary Archived, same one. I'm not super active on there, but send me some hate and then maybe I'll reply.
It's kind of a vibe that a Gen Zer isn't more active on social media.
I used to be, but it's like, it's easier on a private account to just be like, I'm drinking coffee. like I don't really want to, get people replying to my passing intrusive thoughts.
Yeah. For me, like on mine, like it's really funny because my social media is like, less of it is like people from the show. Most of mine is from skating content because that's like people know me from skating more than they do from the show. So it's like there's like a weird dichotomy where like I'm posting this weird rant yesterday about about Velma, and a lot of the people who don't know that I do this show are like, what the hell why is he losing his, like, it just seems out of place that I'm losing my mind at that point. So guys, if you want to follow me and see such a rant or such a thing, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. For the show, we are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is at noon Pacific. If you'd like to listen rather than watch, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you want to follow the show's socials, we are on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at popculture crisis, and on Instagram at popculturecrisispod. We'll be back with another episode on Monday. See you then, guys.
Thank you.
Later.
Bye.